Chapter 44. The sun was bright and warm, the sound of waves crashing against the pier was almost invigorating, and with a small smile Mai Terumi stepped off of their transport and officially entered the port of Wave. It was a busy affair, the docks around her were teeming with people, though most of the commercial business seemed to be further away within its own section of the dockyards. Probably for the best, as the small amount of industry smell that reached her nose was already putting her off. Looking up as a flock of seagulls flew overhead, she took it as a good sign and made her way into the crowd. Behind her Ao and Chojuro followed along, each tucking away sealing scrolls with her luggage. "Mizuki-sama, perhaps you could slow down a bit?" Chojuro didn't want to draw her ire, but it was a bit of a hassle to keep up with her. Mai did slow all the same, it's just so exciting, isn't it? A new and prosperous country, and one much closer than the usual major villages. We have a water nation neighbor. It might be a small thing, but islanders could bond over issues and industries that the mainland could not. Looking back towards her guard slowly, she nodded, "I would enjoy immensely if this would go well." Ao nods as he stands tall and scans the crowd around them. "I'm sure we all would love that, Mizuki-sama." Briefly adding chakra to his stolen eye behind his eye patch, he noticed there were nothing but civilians around them. Relaxing a tad, he idly did note a woman in a blue and white pantsuit walking up towards them. Mai notices as well and turns to the woman who bows deeply to them, "Good morning and welcome to Wave. My name is Maya, and I am a member of the immigration office. If you would please follow me to the welcome center, that would be most appreciated." Standing tall, the ninja crew noticed the dark-haired and eyed woman had a practiced smile that did not seem to reach her eyes. Curious. Waving a hand, however, Mai wasn't in the mood to deal with some civilian. "No need, we're ninja here on a peaceful mission, please step aside." The Yuzu-kid surely had instructed his ninja that they would be coming soon. Maya, however, just shook her head. "My apologies, but I must insist that you follow me. It is only standard procedure." While she hadn't been given the details of any special visitors coming today, she was expecting that this was possibly the Mizuki that Uzumaki-sama had warned them to watch out for. So far, she seemed very rude and off-putting. Eyes tightening just a bit, Maya raised her voice just a tad. "I am only doing my duty." Sighing, Mai nods along. "I'm sure you are, then please, lead the way." Getting a nod from the woman who turned and started to lead them towards a busy-looking road, Mai turns to Ao and Chojuro and winks. They follow behind the woman for a time, before quietly slipping away into the crowd. Maya is unaware of this, however, speaking up about the city around them. Wave has had an economic boom as of late, and our port reflects that. Not even a few hundred meters away from the docks are shops and stalls, restaurants and stores that cater to not only sailors but also tourists and locals. Turning back with a smile, Maya sighs as she noticed the ninja had left. Well, that made things simpler for her. She did her duty, now she was to report to the local garrison. With determined strides, she slipped down a quiet alley and was quickly out of sight. Mostly unconcerned with their actions so far, the Kiri group explored a bit. Chojuro was a bit worried and voiced his opinion. "Should we have left her like that? She was only doing her job, wasn't she?" Mai, however, waved him off, or she was mocking us and didn't believe that we were ninja. "Either way, we have legitimate business to attend to, and I would rather not be slowed down by some civilian child." Surely the Yuzu-kid wouldn't be concerned about her blowing off some civilian. "Ao, please lead the way, you've been here before." "Yes, Mizuki-sama." Ao pointed towards an avenue that led up a hill towards what looked like a main market area. "Up that road leads to the main causeway. From there we will meet a train station." "A train station, you say?" Mai had heard of the fledgling vehicles, but hadn't seen one as of yet. They were manufactured in snow, if she remembered, curious how they made it all this way south. Ao nods. Yes, apparently Spring and Yuzu have some sort of special relationship. All around them, they were currently walking through a busy-looking entertainment district. Several shops offering everything from clothes and fancy local-made accessories and equipment, to other more interesting business could be found here. None of the buildings were more than a few stories tall, though all held brightly colored banners and signs to draw attention. In the distance, Ao could see a few buildings that stretched towards the sky. "I wonder if those are hotels." Chojuro nodded. "By the construction I would agree, plus they're far away from the industrial areas and more towards the beaches and recreation facilities." Mai smiled. "Maybe someday we can visit there. I bet the view from the top floor is amazing that high up." Turning to look ahead, she frowned a bit as a line of samurai barred their way. There were 5 in total, all in a line and staring them down, though none said a word. Do you have business with a samurai? This was absolutely an oddity. The only major force of samurai in the elemental nations would be from the country of iron. Why would they be here? Or maybe they were a local force, though that seemed like wasted investment of training when ninja were available. Being met with silence, Ao frowned and made to walk around them. If you have no business with us, then let us pass. One of the guards held out a hand, bearing his way. It took some self-control to keep from breaking that arm. You do well to know your place, samurai. Ao, we are in their country, maybe don't start a conflict? Chojuro was considering pulling his own sword free, however. Samurai shouldn't be any match for them, but one never knew. Their focus was completely different from ninja after all. And as a sword user himself, things could get dicey. May, however, just smirked and stepped forward. I don't normally go for the strong silent types, but I might make an exception here. There was a glint in her eye that instantly made Ao and Chojuro nervous. She didn't recognize the identification plate on their belts, and they weren't speaking. There was always a chance these were men hoping to cause some conflict between their countries. Distracted, none of them paid attention as the street was emptied of people. They all did notice, however, a spike of chakra. In a swirl of water, a long dark-haired woman dressed in a flowing blue and orange kimono shined behind the line of samurai. Giggling, the woman tapped one of the samurai on the shoulder. You may stand down and return to your duties. I shall handle this from here. They all watch for a moment as the samurai silently wander away before the woman bows to them. You'll have to forgive them. They were only told to hold you here for a moment and nothing else, and they are very strict about following orders to the letter. My name is Kotohime Uzumaki. I have to bring up, however, that all foreign ninja must register at the welcome center when they arrive. Here Kotohime winked at them. It's for safety and trust-building reasons. All ninja who attempt to ignore registration are perceived as potential threats. She motions upwards with her head and the Kiri ninja look around a bit. On the rooftops are dozens of silent ninja, while in the alleyways were more of the samurai. May chuckles and bows back to the Uzumaki woman. My apologies. We had assumed that the civilian woman had no connections with the ninja facilities or authorities and had set ourselves to making our way on our own. We meant no harm. Well, there went their good first impression. Kotohime nods and brings up a hand to her mouth. Whistling loudly in 2 short bursts, the ninja all vanish at once. More slowly are all of the samurai, who begin to wander off back to their assigned areas. Well then, Mizuki-sama. I would like to formally welcome you to Wave. May smiles, thank you. I do apologize for the mix-up. Looking around as the street starts to fill with people again, May motions around with a hand. Uzushio's reconstruction has been nothing but amazing from what we can see so far. Shaking her head and motioning for the group to follow her, Kotohime leads the way towards the train station. This is Wave, only a part of Uzushio as a nation. The main island is much more grand, at least, I think so. Ao and Chojuro fall back to May's sides as the Kage talks to the calm woman, while May herself is happy to see a woman in some station of power. And where do you rank within your village? Kotohime shrugs. Officially, I am one of Uzushio's jonin, though more importantly, I am one of the Uzuki's wives. Kotohime turns a bright eye towards her. Also, don't freak out. Hello. Tsunami appeared on May's other side, and it did take some control not to jump. Chojuro did flinch a bit. I'll need your names and ninja IDs in order to register you properly. Oh, yes. May Terumi. May, Ao, and Chojuro gave her the requested information as they continued to walk along. Tsunami jotted everything down quickly and efficiently before smiling brightly and nodding to Kotohime. I know she's already welcomed you, but I as well. Welcome to Wave, and I hope you enjoy your stay. Seeing the ninja nod, she was quick to turn away and melt into the crowd. Within a breath, she was gone. Ao can't help himself and speaks up. Uzushio ninja are very talented. He wanted to say frightening. He hadn't heard her until she announced herself. How could anyone move that quietly? This sends Kotohime giggling for a bit before she shakes her head. That's just Tsunami's way. Though I'll have to disappoint you. She isn't a ninja. Though no one could figure out just why she was so good at sneaking around like she was. Naruto seemed to have some idea, but he wasn't telling. None of the Kiri ninja believe her, but continue to follow her all the same. Through the market district and up the main road, they are eventually led to a bustling train station that leaves the Kiri in awe. Kotoheim gives them a moment to appreciate things and take it in before motioning them to continue. Our train line extends from here all the way to the land of spring. There are stops in Uzushio, the land of hot waters, the land of frost, and now the land of rice as well. Though to get to the land of rice, you'll have to transfer trains in the land of hot waters. Mei was instantly intrigued. You can travel that far on one of these? Kotoheim nods as they enter the massive building, the noise level climbing quickly as construction was also underway. It was a recent thing transforming the aid station over to a fully functional train station, but it was happening as they had planned now that Uzushio was close to coming out publicly. The stop in land of hot waters is essential for refueling for now, but the spring engineers assure us that a new fuel will be available soon that will negate the need for that. They walk by a train that is several cars long, done in dull gray and blue, steam spilling out from under its heavy wheels. Mei and the others note, however, that they aren't boarding it. Where are we going? Mei slips out with her curiosity. Kotoheim motions forwards to a train car with a single passenger car, colored more in red and blue this time. A VIP car for the occasion. Please, this way. Standing beside an open door, Mei and the others board the plush and very comfortable passenger car. Kotoheim boards behind them and motions to the comfortable-looking red and gold seats. Please sit and relax. This was designed as a short-duration car. We have others built for long-distance travel as well. Kotoheim strides forward down the center alley as the others take available seats. Chojuro is frantically looking around and taking in every detail, while Ao has his arms crossed. Each of the bench seats have a table between the forward and rearward-facing sections. Mei is facing forward while Kojiro sits on one side of her next to the window while Ao sits on the other. Mei watches as Kotoheim walks to the front of the car. Knocking on the door and exchanging words with someone unseen on the other side, they all hear a deeply toned whistle as Kotoheim makes her way back to them. You've advanced very far indeed. Mei mentions as the woman joins them, sitting across from her while Ao and Chojuro sit on either side of Mei. Truly Kiri couldn't hope to match this. Kotoheim shrugs. Our leader was very motivated and driven to see things done. Naruto wouldn't rest until Uzushio was built into a great and lasting city. Only now were people of the other nations going to be allowed to see that hard work come to life. They all jolted as the car began to move and Kotoheim smiled. Total travel time between Wave and Uzushio is roughly 20 minutes. Mei could feel the car angle downwards and smirked. Underground transportation then? No wonder no one has caught on yet. Another idea from Yuzukuchi-sama. We wanted to keep Uzushio a secret for as long as possible. Additionally, it protects the rail lines from sabotage. Indeed. I can only imagine the labor costs involved with such a projects. Kotoheim smirked. We have ways of getting around that. Mei frowned a bit here. Finally an issue on the Uzumaki end. I hope your clan isn't one to use slave labor. That would be a hard sell for them. Mei would allow leeway for a lot, but not slavery. No. We've fully outlawed slavery in any form within our nation. We are also very strict with our allies and refuse to remain as such with any nation that allows the practice within their borders. A smile was back on Mei's face. That is wonderful to hear. Ao sighs, finally relaxing a bit. Fast though this is, it feels lazy. There was nothing wrong with the way ninja travel. Chojuro shook his head, but imagine, traveling this way allows for ninja to rest and conserve their energy. I suppose. Mei is still looking at the calm Kotoheim. Is all of this technology from the land of spring? Most of it, yes. Kotoheim points to the lights. There are several innovations that started in spring that Yuzu has improved upon. There are a few more joint efforts within the village and more Yuzu-only advancements as well. I look forward to seeing everything for myself. Mei is honest here. This spoke of advancements that possibly no other village could hope to match. By a long shot. Mei is mentally still gauging the calm woman opposite of her and was coming to the conclusion that while composed and knowledgeable, she had a certain edge to her that the older woman liked. It was also giving her an idea of what this Yuzukuchi might be like, allowing such a woman to greet them herself and without escort as well. The rest of the short trip is relatively quiet, Kotoheim answering a few mundane questions from Chojuro while Mei relaxed and enjoyed the ride. Ao kept his guard up the entire time while occasionally checking the area with his Byakugan. He never found anything out of place, but it helped his peace of mind. Soon they were coming to a stop in a much grander train station, long and wide, with several tracks leading in and out of it. Kotoheim led them to disembark the train, leading them outside and past busy civilians and workers. With a bright smile as they walking outside through glass doorways, Kotoheim waved a hand towards the city in the distance. Welcome everyone, to Yuzushio. Out in the sun now and back in natural light, all three pause and take in the sight before them. While Ao had seen it before, Mei and Chojuro were slightly awed by it all. Words did not do it justice, and of course having gotten a description from Ao did not help things. Mei has no problems complimenting the city, truly you have endeavored to rebuild quickly. It is such a marvel to see. If only her home could be rebuilt so easily. Kotoheim motions to a waiting trolley car, one among dozens. This way please. Walking forward with the other three behind her, Kotoheim boards first and whispers to the male operator in a professional blue suit. Waiting for everyone else to board, he reached up to ring a bell twice, before pushing a lever forward. With a small shudder from the rail-locked cart, they began to roll forward and pick up a good pace. Turning back to the others, Kotoheim is still smiling, this is our city. Our hope and dream has been to build a home that could know peace. We have all had something taken from us, homes, family, friends, lives. It is here that we come together in spite of that pain, to build a new and better future. That is the essence of Yuzushio. Ao nods along as Mei digests that, it is a marvel that so many people are willing to work so hard for a better life and not butt heads near constantly. Chojuro is again looking around and trying not to touch everything as they ride along on an horse cart-sized trolley, to think a cart could move on its own without a horse or mule. Fascinating. How does it work? Mei is still thinking, and Ao and Chojuro both are fine keeping the Uzumaki woman distracted. Kotoheim is happy to answer what she can. This isn't my area of expertise, but I was informed that each of the trolleys uses a rod connected to electrical rails underground. This is turn powers motors that move them. Chojuro nods, that's smart, the power lines are out of the way so no one can be injured, and it's cleaner than a steam engine. Ao shrugs, what's the point of it though? We're barely moving faster than a walk. Kotoheim motions to other trolleys on the other side of the road, two of them linked together and carrying people towards the train station. Mass transit made available to civilians. It helps with city productivity and quality of life, which we find very important here. Mei idly turns her eyes back towards the towering buildings they were approaching, this is amazing. It would take years normally for this type of construction to be done. Yuzushio must have been rebuilding in secret since they were destroyed. Actually, this is only the product of a little under a year's worth of work. Kotoheim preened at the shocked looks, like I said, we had an advantage in manpower. Mei turned from the city to Kotoheim and back again. All of this within a year? This was beyond amazing. It would take tens of thousands or maybe even hundreds of thousands of people working together to make this happen so quickly. Were there then many people here? I sure wouldn't mind some of that magic for Kirikigure. Kotoheim winked at her, you never know, our Kage has been curious about such a proposal. We had heard rumors that Kiri was in the middle of its own reconstruction. Distracted for a moment as they enter the beginning of the residential ward, the young woman smiles as they come upon a group of school children. They are riding atop a large crab golem, and they all wave to her as some recognize her. No teacher in sight tells her they are either going home or they are on a bit of a trip to the farms. Mei watches what looks like a summon scuttle by, that you would be so frivolous with summoned creatures as to escort children. Do they not get upset? Kotoheim, however, steadfastly does not answer her, only smiling and tilting her head. Ah, so some things would not be given to them then. Summons were normally tightly held secrets after all. But to use summons in such a flippant manner, that spoke of both power and deep respect. If they did not need summons for defense, then did that mean they had other methods of protecting themselves? Looking around as Chojuro set about asking more questions of the Uzumaki, Mei noticed there were more samurai walking the streets here. All were tall and wearing the same heavy but dull gray armor. A few had orange highlights along their helmets, making her believe those must be commanders, and also giving her the idea that the color orange might have some special meaning here. Kotoheim herself had a bit on her as well, and the inside of the VIP train had some as well. Curious. They soon arrive within the city center, where it is a hive of activity. The noise levels rise quickly as people and trolley cars move in a sort of organized chaos. Kotoheim only pats the operator on the shoulder and he slows to a stop while Kotoheim motions to the street, we can walk from here. Everyone jumps off, watching the car trundle away, along its covered top a sign changes. Originally denoting it as a VIP transport, it switches to showing the train station as its next destination. Even as May watches, several people quickly board as the trolley continues along on its track. Kotoheim leads them along the sidewalk before ducking to the left and into a suddenly quieter courtyard with a carefully maintained and landscaped yard. They are looking upon a two-story condo that Kotoheim is walking towards. May is curious about it. Are we meeting your Kage now? She would have rather relaxed and settled in for a bit. They weren't in a rush after all. Kotoheim comes to the front door and produces a key from her kimono, unlocking it and opening the door. No, this condo will be your residence for your stay here within Yuzushio. Stepping inside and waiting for them to join her, Kotoheim closed the door and motions to the large space. Along with this, the city is open to you for the duration of your stay as well. Though of course, certain military areas will be off limits. Do not be concerned, however, you will be directed away long before you can make any mistakes. Here she motions back towards the door where the group can see 3 seals towards its middle. 1 blue, 1 green, and 1 red. The blue seal is to summon myself or another member of the diplomatic group. Apply chakra to it and we shall come to your aid for any reason. The red seal is to signal distress and will automatically seal the door and the compound within a barrier. The green seal is to summon a more civilian functionary, who can assist you with ordering food or supplies as well as direct you if you are interested in certain entertainment venues or eateries. May's eyebrows have continued to rise until they were well into her hairline. This is all very thought out and such ingenious use of seals. She had known the Uzumaki were verifiable sealing masters. Here was her first in her face display of such. Kotoheim bows before holding out the key and handing it to Ao. We aim to make your experience here as pleasant as possible. Please rest up and relax, explore the city as you please, and when you are ready for a meeting, please summon me. The Yuzukage is excited to meet you. May nods to Chojuro, who goes to explore the condo a bit and most likely check for listening seals and the like. Are there any local customs or rules we should be aware of? Kotoheim's smile becomes a bit more genuine at the Mizukage's consideration. The usual, ninja travel and roof hopping isn't exactly illegal, but it is heavily frowned upon without good reason. So please keep that in mind. Also, since you are visitors here, there are 2 or 3 local customs that you should be aware of. First, the Uzumaki are very family-oriented, so you will regularly find most bathhouses are mixed bathing. We value skinship highly here and this does bleed over a bit in our day-to-day lives, so please think twice when complimented here in the city. Most do not mean offense or are meant to be crude. There is also the Uzumaki monument in front of the tower. Paying your respects would go a long way towards endearing yourself to the people. Kotoheim smirks here. If you buy flowers and explain what they are for, don't be alarmed that you're given flowers in a small planting sack. We prefer living dedication in all forms. May nodded, considering what happened to the previous Uzumaki living here. We will keep that in mind. For now I think we will indeed rest and explore the city a bit. Perhaps this afternoon we shall call for a short meeting with your Kage. Kotoheim bows once again. I shall pass that information along. Please, enjoy your stay and once more, welcome to Yuzushio. Turning, the woman was soon out of the door and leaving the Kiri group alone. Chojuro was quick to return, eyes sparking. The technology available here is out of this world. You couldn't expect this level of comfort from anywhere else except maybe Tanzaku. Also, no listening seals or the like so far. Ao nods, having checked as well with his Byakugan, a man should need no more than a cot and warm food to have comfort. All of this finery will make you soft, Chojuro. Groaning, the older man shook himself for a moment. Nothing showing up in my search as well. It's clean. May nods, thoughtful. You are much too stern, Ao. But this is still odd. They trust us enough to explore completely on our own and don't even attempt to bug our accommodations. I'm very interested in meeting this Kage now. Either he was confident in his skills for a reason, or arrogant. Turning and heading for the stairs, she waves off her companions. I am going to find the master bedroom and set myself up. I suggest you both find rooms and do the same. Yes, Mizukage-sama. Ao and Chojuro replied together while watching May climb the stairs and leave. Ao has his own thoughts on the matter. This Yuzukage is much too lax and reckless. This gives too many opportunities for sabotage. Chojuro shrugged as he found the couch and flopped onto it lazily. Like Mizukage-sama said, it could be a sign of strength. What if they have other methods of watching us? Or they just flat aren't worried about us causing any damage? Ao grunted as he set about exploring the rest of the space, and to hunt down a room, I suppose. This would undoubtedly be an interesting trip. At the least they would have some time to explore and mingle among the normal citizens. Maybe build up a better idea of just what they were getting into. Within spitting distance of the visiting group from Kiri and sitting in his office is Naruto. Today guarded by En and Yugo, he's listening as Kotohime gives her report about the Mizukage and her escorts. Beyond the door he can hear Hinata and Ino gossiping back and forth while acting as his secretaries, most likely looking for a chance to sneak in and kick his guards out for lunch. Besides the minor snafu regarding them bypassing registration, everything was calm. Kotohime stood relaxed before his desk, though mentally she was a little jealous of Karen and Hinata, who had both had some office time with her love. That's great to hear. We'll have to use this, and maybe figure out a better way to show the ninja visitors this requirement. Maybe a dedicated ninja post in Wave. Naruto would shoot the idea to everyone else later so he could get some other viewpoints. You did well today, Kotohime. On that note, what do you think of the Mizukage? Kotohime put a finger to her lips while she thought about the question. She is a well-put-together and competent woman. Intelligent, undoubtedly skilled, and forward-thinking. Very much your type, my lord. Mei Terumi was a beauty who turned many heads, both of men and women. Kotohime could see Naruto being interested. Political marriages were a thing after all. Snorting, Naruto shook his head. I'm not asking about that last one. But I value your analysis. Your praise is greatly appreciated, Uzukage-sama. Naruto sighed. You can still just call me Naruto. Nonsense, we are operating in an official capacity. Decorum and proper protocol must be maintained. Hi. I'll leave it alone then. Though, the situation could have been worse. It might be a good idea to figure out how to impart some type of speech ability to the security golem from here on. It was a good thing that the golem had not attacked and instead remained defensive. But in the future, well, ninja could be a very physical bunch. Naruto nods to this. Karen's brought it up a few times. We're thinking of figuring out a way to copy a basic consciousness into them, kind of like my shadow clones. Only just the mind. Slow going though. I'm sure Karen will figure it out, especially now that she has some assistance from Anoka. How are they doing working together? Naruto hadn't had a chance recently to check on them. If he had time, he'd do so today. They're doing well. They are deeper in the second basement level, working with the border monitoring staff. They're watching the Mist Ninja full-time until they leave. Kotohime already knew what Naruto was going to say and personally knew both women would be getting an earful later. We have staff now for a reason, so they shouldn't be spending all of their time down there. I'll have to go remind them later. Kotohime grins and wonders how Anoka will react to that. All of the girls knew how Karen would enjoy that. What are your plans for the rest of the day then? Until the Mizukage leaves, I'll be here in my office in order to be available. Though, I guess I could leave a clone from time to time and switch out if they come calling. Plus, if something happened that required his attention, he couldn't completely tether himself to this desk. Looking back towards En, he voiced a question that popped in his mind. All of the Chinoite clan are up to date about the Mizukage and her group, right? En nods with a grin. My clan won't be causing any trouble, you have my word. Sighing and knowing he was perhaps worrying a bit too much, Naruto looks up as his door opens up. Niji is walking in, long bundle on his back, while flanked by two others. One was a woman from the Hataru clan with her own identical wrapped bundle. Niji and the woman had taken to changing their clan's colors to hues of blues, while the other was a man from the Chinoite clan. Dressed like some off-the-road bandit, he was all grins as they came to Naruto's desk, Kotohime coming around to stand at Yugo's side and out of the way. Niji? Something to report? He had almost forgotten that Niji had been able to form a team in order to begin taking missions. Though at the moment it was all hands on deck within their borders. Bowing and standing smartly, Niji keeps his face carefully neutral. We finished our first patrol around Uzushio and encountered no issues. We're going to be moving on and performing a patrol around Wave next. Naruto sighs but nods. You aren't pushing yourselves, are you? You can rest, we do have other teams on patrol as well. Niji shakes his head. We are following guidelines, we'll be fine. Thank you for your concern, Uzukage-sama. Seeing Naruto twitch sent the older boy smirking internally. He might not be able to beat his friend in a fight, but he certainly could annoy him. Behind him, his clan mate and team member adjusts her own wrapped bundle. Oh, Niji's being modest. He's working himself hard, keeps talking about proving himself to you, Uzukage-sama. Seeing Niji's jaw tighten a bit put a bigger smile on her face. Besides her, the Chinoite clan member shook his head slowly. You're teasing our team leader again, Kana. He's gonna punish you. Maybe I wanna be punished, Jin, ever think of that? Maybabe, you should take a page from him, work on that modesty a bit. The now-named Jin could only wave a finger at the pale-eyed woman. That she snapped her teeth at him had him retreating a step. Naruto shares a small smile with Niji and shrugs, seems you've got a handful there, so I'll let you get back to it. Make sure to stop in with Tsunami as well when you jump islands, alright? Niji nods, we will. Seeing the dismissal, the team salutes and heads off, Kana and Jin bickering back and forth with a tired-looking Niji in the lead. Hopefully a full patrol of Wave would tire them out a bit. Yugo speaks up once the other team leaves, do you believe anyone will try to cause trouble over the Mizuki's visit? Naruto shrugs again, it's possible. Enough rumors have begun to spread about us that we can't say the possibility is zero. Better to upgrade security for the time being and be cautious. Turning in his chair a bit to look out over the city, Naruto sighs and eyes his desk. They were making progress, nearly ready to announce themselves, but there was still a lot of work to do. And even more to worry about. If only this could go smoothly. Scene change in the woods on the other side of the Great Naruto Bridge. The Sound Four were watching the procession of people in and out of the country while trying to decide their next move. Hidden as they are in the trees and dressed as travelers hard on their luck, they can't come to a complete agreement at the moment. Kadamura doesn't see the need for any subtlety, we should just walk right in through the front. There's enough foot traffic to conceal us. We'll enter separately and pick a spot to link up together later. There's no walls, so most likely no passive barrier. Kimimaro shakes his head at that, the bridge could be a barrier point, though the rest of the island looks undefended. Lord Orochimaru did mention the best place to cause a scene would be in the middle of a crowd, but we must draw out this Naruto Uzumaki first. Sakon leans against the trunk of a tree while sharpening a kunai. We could capture some random ninja, interrogate them and get a better idea of what to expect. Maybe we can luck out and they'll know about this Uzumaki. He and Yukon could take care of that part quickly. Though it probably wouldn't be pretty. Just the way they liked it. Kimimaro nods slowly, a decent proposal. We will need information and ninja on patrol will likely have at least enough to allow us further inside without issue. Sakon grins, since it's an island nation, patrols will probably stick to their inner border then. So first worry is making it to a beach undetected. Kimimaro turns his gaze away from the bridge to look over the shoreline of the Land of Fire side of the ocean. We will camp out along the beach for today and enter from the water overnight. Our current goal is to capture a patrol quietly and gather information in order to infiltrate deeper into the country without causing a fuss. If we can find out where the Uzumaki is quickly, that will be a bonus. Kadamura nudges a so far quiet Jirobu, sounds like a good plan to me, doesn't it, big buddy? Jirobu nods, simple is usually best. Kimimaro nods, then move out, we don't have long before nightfall. Seeing everyone nod and dash along behind him through the trees, the group mentally prepares to complete their mission for Orochimaru. A flock of seagulls rests and chatters on the bridge, though one with a paler coloring and oddly glowing blue eyes has been watching the sound group. Seeing them dash away, the bird takes flight, startling its fellow avian companions. It arcs through the sky to follow them, silent and focused. Kadamaru attempts to make some small talk. Hey, do you think Tayuya is with this Naruto kid? Think we should drag her back before Orochimaru for some punishment? Of course, there was a chance she was doing exactly as she was supposed to and couldn't retreat in all this time. But it was doubtful in Kadamaru's mind. Jiroba shook his head as well, that foul woman wouldn't have taken this long with such a simple request. Kimimaro speaks up, silencing them all, if we do find her, it will be a bonus and we will capture her. She was ordered to bring back a seed of the Uzumaki. At the least she can accomplish that. If not, she'll be thrown away like the rest of the trash. She wasn't a mission parameter after all. But it might make Orochimaru-sama happy if they could bring her back, or confirmation of the traitor's death. Scene change, within the Land of Fire and also making their way towards the Land of Wave, Konoha's dubbed rookie group consisting of the rearranged teams of Guy leading Kiba, Shino, and Lee while Asuma leads Shikamaru, Choji and Tenten. Kakashi still runs Team 7, though he seems happy enough to walk along without his usual book. All of the Konoha ninja are guarding a contingent from Suna. Temare has been joined by her brothers, which has given the Konoha group the heads up on why such a large group would be defending just the normally hot-tempered girl. Shikaru pipes up as they walk, bored out of his skull. I knew it didn't make a lot of sense to guard just one troublesome woman. So lame. Temari is grinning as they walk along. Ah, you didn't think little old me was worth all the effort? Troublesome girls should be left alone. Shikamaru only instinctually ducked from the slap that never came. Years of conditioning from his mother and Ino had traumatized him. No wonder you're single. Temari rolled her eyes and faced ahead. He certainly wasn't like Naruto in any way. Genius sure, but shitty with women. Asuma steps in with hopes to defuse the situation. What's so important about Wave, and why include us? He had heard some whispers, but not much. Apparently displaced civilians were flocking that way for work and stability. It was drawing attention from as far north as Taki by now. Temari shrugs as Gaara doesn't seem to be in a talkative mood today. I'm not at liberty to discuss it really. But we will be there for a week. So consider it a vacation for yourselves until we complete our job there. They could at least understand that this was a diplomatic mission, just not the details. Didn't want to give up the bag before Naruto was ready after all. Behind them all Sakura and Sasuke share a knowing look with each other, both already knowing why the Suna siblings would be interested in Wave, while next to them Sai is considering how best to slip away in all of the confusion. If they had a few days to themselves, perhaps he could make some excuse and strike out on his own for a day. He shouldn't need longer than that to track down the Uzumaki clan home on such a small island. Lord Danzo had at least known the Uzumaki had finally settled there, just not exactly where yet. And while the scroll should have enough power to wipe out the town, Danzo had been specific about targeting the Uzumaki personally. Sai would not fail in that. Gaara looked back over his shoulder at everyone. Due to our agreement with Konoha, you have been allowed to accompany us as guards on this mission. I will have use of one team while we meet our target, but no more. Please, do not cause trouble while we are here. Being the most he had spoken to the Konoha group since they started the journey, Gaara was still working on his interpersonal skills. Slow going that. Kankuro had a brash grin as he looked over his shoulder. Unfortunately, if you all do something stupid that'll reflect badly on us. So do us a favor and find a hotel room, keep to yourselves, and don't do anything stupid. Not that he had any high hopes for them. But at least Naruto would know that it was Konoha and not Suna. Guy thrusts a fist towards them. We will endeavor to live up to your example, Kazekage-sama. If not, I shall walk all the way back to Konoha on my hands. Backwards even. Such a youthful decision, Guy-sensei. I follow your example and complete the same challenge. And if I fail, I shall instead carry all of our belongings while reciting the ninja code. Truly youthful Lee. Your youthful fires burn ever bright this day. Guy-sensei. Lee. Guy-sensei. Tenten had tears trailing down her face while Choji pat her on the back. I thought I was free. I thought it was over. What have I done to deserve this? Watching as the two hugged it out, complete with sunset and waves crashing over rocks, Tenten had to look away. Temari could only twitch. What the hell is that? Kankuro scrubbed at his eyes. What the hell, man? Turn that shit off. It was going to be a long trek to Wave. Perhaps a bit longer for some more than others. Chapter 45. Evening had descended upon Uzushio, finding Naruto in a bit of a pleasant back and forth with Mei after she and her group had explored the city for the afternoon. Behind him stands En and Yugo in the corners of the wide meeting room they had decided to use instead of his office. It still offered a wonderful view of the city, the orange and slowly turning purple light from the setting sun spilling in. Chojuro and Ao guard the other end of the sparsely decorated room behind Mei, faces carefully neutral. Hinata and Ino sit on either side of Naruto at the meeting table, Ino listening on carefully while Hinata takes notes and has unsealed a few folders worth of notes and resource paperwork. Naruto grins a bit as he relaxes back for a moment. I hope you've enjoyed your first day here in Uzushio-Bikure. It's great to have you here. He wouldn't admit that it took some effort to keep his eyes on her face, lovely as it was. The auburn-haired woman was an absolute bombshell, not that he would admit that out loud. Jiraiya would absolutely lose his mind around her. Mei nods with a smile. Your city is breathtaking, really. The people are so driven and focused, and your advancements extend not just to ninja, but to your civilians as well. We have been enjoying ourselves immensely. Your leadership is regarded with high esteem as well, we've learned. She had heard nothing but praises about the Uzumaki head along with the rest of the clan. She had taken Kotoheim's advice and paid homage to the Uzumaki memorial as well, which had seemed to help ease or resolve some of the people's misgivings about them. Nodding along, Naruto felt a bit of pride well up in his chest. We have all worked hard to make it this far. I couldn't be happier about our reconstruction so far. It is here that Naruto leans forward a bit as he focuses, but, you're here on business. So. His eyes tense up a bit. About your conduct when you arrived. It's really not a good look for a visiting dignitary to bypass a security checkpoint, civilian or otherwise. Honestly, he wasn't all that worried about it, but this was about negotiations, which meant he couldn't let it slide without some notice. Yes. About that. I can do nothing except apologize profusely. More than just an oversight, we had made the incorrect assumption that there was a larger separation between the civilian and military functions within your country. Probing a bit for information while sincerely apologizing, May did hope he was not one to hold grudges. Naruto waves it away eventually. I guess I can overlook it for now. We do have systems in place to keep track of ninja within our borders after all. Deciding to give some of her own information away in hopes that he might do the same, May motions to Ao, is that so? My subordinate had been scanning with his Byakugan and didn't see anything out of the ordinary. Hopefully the young Hyuga next to him didn't take offense to having their vaulted eye stolen, but it was most likely well before her time. Grinning and glad for the confirmation that their seals were in fact working as intended, Naruto's face relaxes out of his frown. Concealing Uzumaki seals is easy enough for us by now. Leaning over, Hinata quietly hands him a folder that he opens and begins turning pages of paper within. Let's see now. We first detected you coming from the east by boat just outside of Uzushio territorial waters. 0700 you detour around our main island and away from the whirlpools. You dock at wave by 0800, slip away from your escort by 0810, and eventually wander through the city for about 30 minutes. Chojuro picks his nose approximately 5 times during your exploration, Ao casually spits into the street 3 times, and you admire yourself in a window 12 times. Naruto levels a smug grin at the group. Should I continue? May blushes a bit as she chuckles. No, I think we get the message. Uzushio is very thorough, I see. I always make sure to take care of everything until the end. He misses the light blushes from Hinata and Ino. But I want to make it clear from the get-go. We knew you had entered our country well before you were within any type of striking range. Yuzu will not fall again. Certainly not from a combined assault from the major villages like last time. We would never dream of doing such again. May shakes her head while tapping a finger on the long granite desk. The Kiri of today is very different from the Kiri of old. We are looking to make amends and show everyone that we are a changed people. Which was the truth. May did not want Kiri to continue to be known as the Bloody Mists after all. Hopefully her sincerity could reach the young leader. Naruto opens his mouth to say something, but Ino leans over to whisper in his ear. She's being sincere, of that I'm sure. Maybe cut the cutie some slack? Wouldn't she just be divine to have laid out on our bed? You know, to apologize for her misstep earlier? Naruto had to of course keep his face neutral as he nodded and leaned away from the calm Ino. Brat, now his head was full of dirty thoughts. We are island nations. So it would probably be best for us to get along. I'd hate to have bad relations with our neighbors. I had much of the same belief. May mentally sighed with some relief, happy that they had at least some hope of negotiating properly. Naruto leans his elbows on the table while tenting his hands together. So how are things in Kirigakyo right now? You've been in isolation for years now. Sighing heavily, May relaxes back in her own chair. Things have been rough, to say the least. Reconstruction is slow going and the civilians are wary about trusting my administration. Never mind some of our ninja clans who had previously been prosecuted during the bloodline purges. Having to win their trust is going to be the hardest barrier, I believe. More like impossible. May had rallied many of those behind her on the belief that they would change things for the better. However, it wasn't like they could kill everyone who had supported the old system. It was a headache and a half to keep things going, and it gave her less and less time every day for her own life. Truly, being a Kage was a lonely existence. See her pause. Naruto nods along. Uzushio can help with reconstruction efforts, though I'm sure you understand compensation will be expected later. Manpower isn't something we are short on. It might spread him a bit thin, but if it secured a new ally, he'd happily go and get some work done. Plus he could see a new country, maybe come up with new ideas and the like. Thinking about the proposal, May instead worries about some of the ninja clans under her control. Not all of them were willing to trust her or Kiri as a whole. Minds did not change overnight. Reconstruction was slow, yes, but it would happen. Instead of reconstruction assistance, how about instead you assist us with immigration? Seeing she has his attention, she continues with her pitch. There are a few clans under our banner that are still jumpy. They've considered leaving Kiri altogether, though many of their techniques and livelihoods rely on being near or on the ocean. So they stay more out of necessity than loyalty. If I was to be able to give them options to move, however. Mei trailed off as Naruto's eyes widened at the thought. You would part with ninja clans from your ranks? That's a major surprise. That's the same as giving up some of your power, isn't it? Yes. Though, like yourself, I too would love for a world where people can learn to get along and have peace. Kiri has only recently finished fighting and killing each other. Tensions are still high, and we don't want to start that again if we can help it. Anything to bring down the chance for hostilities will be appreciated. In the long run, it'll be more peaceful to allow for the two clans I have in mind to resettle in a new ally's borders rather than our own. Plus, you can call it a major apology for the way we entered your country, and for some of our sins from the past. While it wasn't her that had ordered the destruction of the previous Uzushio, that didn't mean anything to civilians for sure. Bad blood could and usually did run deep. Naruto nods, thinking it over, while Hinata leans into his ear now to whisper to him, it would be a good idea, extra ninja clans will only increase our power after all. A sly grin works its way onto her face as of course she can't let Ino get ahead of her, plus just think, if we do this she might consider this as you doing her a favor. Wonder what she would be willing to do in order to repay that. Naruto leans away with a grin while more thoughts swirl in his head, but he keeps on track. What clans would you be thinking about sending our way? Mei snaps a finger and Chojuro comes forward to unseal a blue folder and hands it to her. Smiling and thanking him, making him blush, the older woman opens it and pulls free 2 pages that she turns and slides Naruto's way. 2 clans specifically, both rather less well known. One was nearly wiped out, the Yuki clan. While the other has been a long-standing clan that did not produce ninja. The Zosensho clan. Very literal, a clan of shipbuilders. They've become very isolationist since the bloodline purges and hardly ever respond to our summons. Watching Naruto take up the papers that summarized both what the clans were, their approximate numbers, and their requirements, she smiled as Naruto's face lit up without him noticing. I've met a member of the Yuki clan before. Though, he was sure he was the last of his clan. It's sad to learn that he had family that could have loved him. Naruto remembered Haku and his pain. This would have been a great village for Haku and Zabuza if they had survived. And a clan of shipbuilders, huh? That could be interesting. He would have to meet with them first of course, but ultimately he didn't have an issue with clans resettling in Uzushio. They would go through the standard probation like everyone else. In the end, my goal is to build a world that has the ability to become peaceful. Where conflicts can be resolved without massive bloodshed. Mei smiles and points a well-manicured finger towards him, I wish for such a world as well. Naruto slides the papers towards Hinata for filing, if such a concession is going to be made on Kirigakure's part, then Uzushio Gakure wouldn't mind eventually becoming full allies with you. Opening our borders to Uzushio for trade and commerce would be a good start. Showing her relaxed nature, she grins at him, by the way. I've been hearing much about the Uzumaki tradition of bathing skinship. I would be interested in learning more about it. Since you're doing me such a large favor. Chuckling and shaking his head while ignoring the glares from Ao and Chojuro, Naruto waves a hand to ward them off. The Uzumaki like to talk and settle family disputes and make plans in the bath. We consider it a space that lays bare not just our bodies, but our feelings and emotions. Giving him a sultry smirk, Mei can't help but tuck a strand of hair behind one ear and preen a bit. I would like to join in on one of these sessions. Tonight perhaps? Naruto's laugh is a bit more strained, and it's Hinata and Ino who save him. Ino winking at the older Kage, I'm sure it will be a wonderful time. The young woman looks up to her guards, your guards are welcome to attend of course, though be warned, us Uzumaki girls can get violent. Mei shakes her head ready to wave them both off, before thinking about it. Ao was instantly out, the stick in the mud, but Chojuro might be some fun. Chojuro may come, but Ao likes to bath alone. So he will most likely stay behind. Having the younger boy with them might help with his confidence a bit as well. Or at least might shock the shyness out of him. Ao takes a half step forward with his hand outstretched. Mizuki-sama, surely I can dash. Mei turns a baleful eye towards him, are you going to argue? Tone sweet, everyone can detect the danger there. Mouth snapping shut, Ao shakes his head quickly. Why did his Kage have to be so reckless? And why did he keep somehow pissing her off? The rest of the meeting would proceed with a bit more routine. Trade ideas, cultural exchanges, nothing was off the table at the moment. Kiri wanted to show itself as a new and revitalized village on the world stage, while Yuzu was rebuilding itself and rebranding as a force to be wary of. It would not be all roses right from the beginning, both leaders knew that. But here in this office, both could see that the other only had the best interests of their people at heart. That was a wonderful place to start, they decided. Scene change. Along the wooded area of Wave at the western edge of the island stood the team of Niji, Kana, and Jin. Night had fallen, but they had been instructed that the border seals had picked up a team attempting to be sneaky. Kana and Jin were standing together while keeping an eye on the surrounding area, while Niji stood before a pale brown elk golem with large antlers. It would have passed as a real one from a distance if not for the rocky skin and glowing blue eyes. Its mouth was open, and Karen's voice issued out from it. We've been watching them since they left the main road and attempted to avoid the bridge. It's the Sound 4 and they are attempting to enter Wave by crossing the strait. It had been a long time since Karen had seen the group, but she could never forget them. Ever. No other patrols have made contact yet, and yours is the closest. Should I direct backup your way? No. We can handle this. Our weapons need a proper field test after all. Any special orders concerning the group? Niji would take any advice he could get from the Uzumaki woman. She knew more than him about their targets after all. The one with 2 markings on his forehead and pale skin and pale hair? That's Kimimaro. A bone bloodline limit makes him extremely dangerous at close range. At the least, you must kill him first. He's fanatical and will not surrender or bargain. The other to worry about the most is Sakan. Well, it's Sakan and Yukon. They both have bluish hair and pale complexions. Though they have a habit of covering one eye and wearing lipstick. They're brothers that inhabit the same body. Yukon can inhabit your body and kill you from the inside out. Again, kill quickly and without fail. The other two, Kidamaru and Jirobo, the one with 6 arms and the one with the mohawk respectively, aren't as skilled as the others. Kill if you must, but capturing them would be a nice little bonus for Naruto, I think. I'm sure he would like some words with them. Niji nods, understood. We'll get it done. The elk bows lightly, we'll keep an eye on things on our end. If things go south, we'll dispatch 2 teams to your location ASAP. And absolutely worst case, we'll activate the swarm. Understood, we're heading out. Niji nods to the others and they take to the trees, heading for a cliff that overlooked the nearest beach that was closest to the border with the Land of Fire. Kana and himself activated their Byakugan as they ran. Failure is not an option. Kana smirked, do you want to make sure you bring a big fat present back for Uzumaki-sama? Think he'll praise you for being such a good boy? Jin chuckled, he's gonna jukin you into next week again. That had been a fun spare when they had first teamed up. His arm still ached in phantom twinges. Niji shakes his head, I'm merely doing my duty as ordered. That he did want to go above and beyond to put on a good showing for his new clan meant nothing. He was just trying to help put their best foot forward. I mean, if he wants to poke at me a bit, I'm not going to complain. Kana smirked as their team leader stumbled a bit. Scoring herself a mental point, she added it to her list of help her distant cousin loosen up scorecard. Lady Hinata had been very firm about helping Niji. Plus, he was very handsome, that helped. Niji shook his head as they reached the cliff and he spotted figures running out along the water. Found them, looks like a few minutes out, before they reached the beach. He was already unslinging his bundle from his back. Kana was soon next to him, doing the same. Should we kill them before they make the beach? Niji shook his head, sharks will eat their bodies before we can recover them. That's a long run. They'll most likely rest on the beach to recover their chakra before continuing on. See that rocky overhang to the north? Kana nodded, eyes tracking a bit to her right, yeah. That'd be the safest place for them to stop. It'd give them cover from any potential roving patrols. But not us. It's a straight shot. Jin however relaxed back, hands linked behind his head, that's like a mile or 2 away. Think you can make that shot? Niji only smiled, not a problem. Unwrapping his bundle, it was a long wood and metal construction. The metal tube was roughly a meter long and had 2 sections which could be split open near the base, which he did in order to load 2 things inside of it. First, a specially made senbon about as thick as a finger into the longer section, and next was a tightly packed explosive note into the shorter breech. Folding the weapon back together, he flicked forward 2 legs towards the end away from him and set up on the ground. The spring engineers were calling it a chakra rifle, because it used their chakra in order to ignite the seals and launch the senbon. And apparently the inside of the barrel was etched in a process called rifling in order to give the senbon a spin to help with stability. And God, was it effective. With a little practice, I've had no problems hitting targets as far as 3 miles, though those were stationary. Even a mile is pushing it for moving targets. If this worked, he was absolutely making sure every member of the ninja members of the Hataru clan received training with these weapons. Kana sat up next to him, folding her own weapon together and keeping her eyes active, which means if they don't stop, best we can do is aim to wound them and close in for close combat. But if they do stop? Niji's grin only became more sinister. If they don't stop, we'll take the shot as they approach the hill leaving the beach. But if they do stop, I'll take Kimimaro, you take Sakan. Roger that. They both watched as the Sound 4 continued their run, cresting and jumping over the waves as they got closer and closer to the beach. It was with a satisfied smile that Niji was proven correct as the enemy team made landfall and immediately dove under the outcropping of rock to rest and gather themselves. Niji brought the wooden stock of the rifle to his shoulder, on my count. 3, 2, 1, fire. Applying chakra to the top of the tube at a specified point, there was a sound like thunder, and both he and Kana watched as their senbon were sent faster than they could follow downrange towards their enemy. They had a moment to appreciate that all of the sound ninja turned at the massive sound that cut through the night. Then they set about reloading. Kidamaru was just looking around at what sounded like echoing thunder. There wasn't a cloud in the sky, however, so what the hell was that? His thoughts were interrupted as Kimimaro's head was severed from his body, neck vanishing with a whistle and an explosion of gore and blood. In the same breath, the top of Sakan's head simply ceased to exist. His body took some of the momentum and was launched away from them a bit before landing to pulse and twitch among the rocks, blood pumping from a body that didn't know it was dying. Kimimaro's corpse stood much the same, his eyes wide and mouth moving as he hadn't quite caught up with what had happened. Kidamaru was looking around frantically while Jirobu was already in the process of building an earth dome around them. What the fuck was that? Jirobu shook his head. I don't know. But something is making it hard for me to manipulate the earth here. Building a dome is gonna take a minute. Hurry the fuck up, fat ass. We need to figure this out. Kidamaru was already activating his curse seal and pushing up his headband to expose his third eye. Yukon, you dead too? Yukon had already taken control, enraged and seal activating. Whoever did this will pay. My brother, he, god damn it. He couldn't think about it. If he did, if he acknowledged it now, he wouldn't be of any use. No. He'd take it out and whoever attacked them. Far away and reloading their next shot, Niji was already sighting on Kidamaru. They're putting up a barrier, better hurry. Kana frowned. God, I need to practice more. She was half a second behind Niji in reloading and sighting their targets again. I'll finish off Yukon. She notices the transformation taking over Kidamaru and the bow and arrow he was making with his spit. Well, isn't that cute? Niji nodded. We've only got one more shot at this. 3, 2, 1, fire. Another pulse of chakra, more thunder, and twin streaks of silver flew away. Kidamaru had been looking this time, bow and arrow made of his webs, at the ready to retaliate. Jirobu's barrier was almost complete as well, but it wouldn't be enough. Seeing flashes of light from explosions, Kidamaru turned in order to see what had attacked them. He couldn't make sense of it, however. It was too far away. Who could possibly attack them from so far? Having moved a tad, however, his life was spared. His upper right arm was not. A good portion of his shoulder being ripped away from his body, he was dumped onto his back while his arm was sent flying into the sand. Screaming in pain and rage, he missed the other projectile slamming into the enraged Yukon's heart, obliterating his chest and blowing bits of his spine out of his back. Jirobu finally had the barrier tall enough to protect them from further attack, not that it would do them any good. Jirobu himself was panting from the effort. How had things gone so wrong so quickly? Niji stands, folding his rifle in two and wrapping it again so they could move quickly. We're going to have to get close for the last one. Kana followed his lead and looked to Jin. Looks like you're up, blood boy. Jin shook his head as the team set off, both of the Hataru with their rifles slung on their backs. blood boy? Kana nodded as she smirked at him from over her shoulder. You control people by their blood, so, blood boy. Jin could only sigh and nod. I guess that makes sense. What do we call you then, shooty zap fingers? Kana laughed while Miji shook his head. You might want to go back to the drawing board with that one. Either way, those rifles make you seriously dangerous at range. Why bother with anything else? Miji waves a hand around them, only good in certain conditions first. And second, while we're building them into our new fighting style, there will always be a need for close-range fighting. Uzumaki-sama could have flashed away and caught us within moments. And a more experienced ninja might have performed a shunshin in order to reposition so they could find us as well. Miji turned to look at Jin. Long range is good, but remember we're still deadly up close. We do appreciate you as a backup. Jin grins while flexing his fingers, as they came with sight of the rock dome around the sound team. I'm so ready to capture these assholes and head home. I miss a warm bed and good food. Idly he activated his dojutsu. Kana teases him because of his enthusiasm. You must really love me to be willing to fight for me so earnestly. Jin decides to tease back. I'm actually fighting for Niji, not you. Oh, just admit you love me. Like a bad rash. No, that was just that civilian floozy you found the other day. Natsumi was a nice girl, don't put that evil on her just 'cause you can't get a date. I'm saving myself for Niji-sama. As a good wife should. I'll pray for our team leader's health. Prick. Stuck up CU, Niji sighed, shut it, both of you. We have work to do. Happy that for once both of them quieted down, they came upon the beach and the rock dome. Byakugan active, Niji had no worries and walked right up to it, eyeing it over for flaws. Jin, when the wall drops, capture him. No worries their leader. Jin held up both hands and waited. He could faintly feel another body beyond all that rock, but there was too much in the way. Shame. Niji wells up chakra in his hands, before furiously smacking several points along the wall facing them. Jumping away as the wall crumbled and Jirobo leapt forward in an attempt to catch him, Niji grinned as instead Jin caught the bigger teen in his hold. Perfect. Jin nods as Jirobo grunts and attempts to move. How are you doing this? Jin shrugged though sweat was beginning to appear on his forehead. Did you know the human body, blood specifically, has a lot of iron in it? Niji unseals a suppression seal and slaps it on the other teen's forehead. Uzumaki-sama is going to have questions for you. Watching the bigger guy drop like a stone, Niji finally relaxed and released a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. Kana set about unsealing storage scrolls and sealing away the bodies. Kidamaru and Jirobu took special seals that could transport the living within a specialized stasis seal. Something Naruto and Karen had spent some time putting together. Welp, that's that, we all done here? Niji nods, accepting the scrolls from Kana and sealing them all away into a larger storage seal that he tied to the small of his back. All done. Time to return to Yuzu and make our report. Jin nodded, and then bed for a few days. I'm so glad we have mandatory time off. Maybe he could hit up Natsumi, see if she was still interested. Kana nodded, you said it. Say Niji, wanna bunk together tonight? I know that apartment of yours has to get lonely. Sighing and refusing to answer, Niji jumped away, Jin and Kana on his heels. Jin turned to the girl, he didn't say no this time. See, I'm making progress. Unless he's planning to beat the shit out of you again. Sounds kind of fun. Think I can get rope involved? You're so broken. Guilty, it was going to be a long trip home. Scene change, Naruto sighs as he relaxes into his family bath as today had been stressful and busy. But here with Hinata and Kotohime at his sides, he had peace. Or at least, he should. Across from him is a serene Mei, while a blushing Chojuro floats next to a tired-looking Yugo, both with towels over their eyes. The rest of the girls, minus Karen and Anoka, are relaxing about, while Naruto and Mei chat back and forth. I haven't had the chance to ask. Mei's voice was like silk as she enjoyed the warm waters they all were currently sharing. Have you garnered relations with any other nations? Keeping his eyes firmly on her face, Naruto nodded and relaxed back a bit. We've actually pulled the land of hot water, frost and rice together under our banner. Wave and spring are officially just parts of Yuzushio. He waved a hand as he thought about his next plan. I actually have a bit of an in with Suna, so they'll be the first major village to ally with us, officially that is. Honestly, Naruto had never had a doubt that Suna would ally with them. Never mind Gaara and he talking more often. Temari alone would make it happen. Mei smirks and trails a hand through the water. Oh, and what would it take so that Kiri could be included with those allies? Leaning back just a tad and watching her cleavage rise, she was only slightly irked the young man was being such a gentleman. I can be very persuasive. One of the girls, Tayuya she believed, snorted loudly. Naruto chuckles and shakes his head. Well, I won't lie. You are indeed a very beautiful woman, Terumi-chan. But I'd like to think our future alliance should be based on something a bit more concrete, yeah? And benefits our citizens more. Mei nods in approval. I can see the benefits. Why, political marriages are very common still, and it would secure a more lasting peace between our nations. I wouldn't dream of taking up more of your time than needed, and I especially wouldn't look to replace your current wives. No. Just a bit of fun, from time to time, yes? Lips curling as she adjusts herself and gets a little more comfortable. Ino and some of the other girls begin to giggle, while Naruto flushes at the bold Mizukage. It sounds like fun to me. Ino never minced words anymore, always ready to speak her mind. Yet another bombshell surrounding Naruto. Should we start a ranking? Tayuya was for once relaxed and resting against her friend. No wrestling tonight. That was for later. Finally rolling his eyes and figuring the Mizukage is teasing him, Naruto waves it all away. I'm sure we can set some time aside and negotiate about it later. That is what I'm trying to do now, Uzumaki-sama. Mei shrugs and watches as his eyes finally dip a bit. Score. I hope it's working. If not. She raised herself up a bit. I can try harder. She had spent months hearing about the rouge that was the maelstrom. Blowing apart a Biju, taking down bandits, saving princesses. Finally having him here, now, and in person? And he was intelligent and powerful? The little girl in her heart had nothing but stars in her eyes. Kotoheim grins from his side and nods for him. Oh, don't worry. You're having an effect on him. The girls set about giggling some more while Naruto slaps her hands away. Further away and doing their best to drift into their own world, Chojuro chats with Yugo. How do you deal with it? Yugo can do nothing but shrug. You get used to it eventually. He's almost immediately set upon by Kin and Sasami. Kin is grinning as she pulls the taller boy into her bosom. Once you get over your nervousness, it's pretty easy. Sasami pulls both of them away for a bit. We like to think of it as exposure therapy. Sasami mock whispered to the blushing boy. You could wander around Yuzu for a bit. Because of all of the wars and conflicts, men are kinda in short supply. Plus you're cute. I'm sure there are more than a few girls who would love to take a bath or two with ya. Giggling, she wanders off with Yugo and Kin, leaving the frazzled boy alone. Towards the doorway from the changing rooms, naked feet slap against the tiles as Karen and Onoka finally make their way inside. Having spent most of the day in the basement and only coming up after receiving a report from Miji's team, both were rather tired and ready to relax, eat, and go to bed. Looking to finish up their duties, they both kneel at each of Naruto's shoulders, Karen leaning down to whisper into his ear. Miji and his team dispatched the Sound 4. Capturing two of them alive, though one is critically injured and won't make it another hour after being removed from the stasis seal. They're all in the containment sector when you're ready. Naruto nods. Thanks, that's some of the best news we've gotten today. He personally had wanted to reduce all of them to sludge, but dragging information out of them was a good idea. Plus, this was their reminder to go hunt down Orochimaru again. Old Snake's days were numbered. Seeing how tired their friends look, Hinata and Kotoheim both kiss Naruto on his cheeks and float away, giving Karen and Onoka room. Naruto gets the message and a glint enters his eyes. You know, you're still in trouble for spending all day in the basement, like I told you not to. Quick as lightning, his hands snaked up to grab both girls and drag them into the water with a splash. Resurfacing with sputters and coughing, they both blush as Naruto wraps possessive arms around their waists and pulls them into him. We'll be having a talk about it later. Karen is blushing heavily, of course, Naruto-sama. Onoka nods and tries to hide her own blush. Yes, Naruto-sama. Mei can't help but smile at the blatant show of affection. Such a strong presence. Naruto decides if she's going to keep teasing him he might as well do so in return and shoots her a grin. Just wait, you haven't seen all of my presents just yet. Relaxing for a moment and missing her own blush, he decides someone else needs a reminder of just who and what he is. Raising his left arm, he channels some chakra through it and 7 seals grow to life on his inner forearm. Onoka dear, could you poke one of those? Onoka nods, reaching up and choosing the one directly in the middle. It flashed blue once, before going dark. Was that all, Naruto-sama? Naruto nodded. Prefect Onoka. Completely perfect. Everyone was looking to him for an explanation while he relaxed back and returned his arm to around Onoka's waist. Idly rubbing a hand along her side and tummy, just saying hello to an old man is all. Hinata nods and leans into Kotohime. Must be Jiraiya-sama. Ino giggles, that old perv? I can only imagine what they pass back and forth with seals. Tayuya looked Naruto's way, cracking her knuckles. Better not be anything about us. Naruto shakes his head. I'd never share you. No, just a hello, nothing more. Scene change. Far away in the land of fire. While sitting in his office, a smug Danzo works through paperwork while in a good mood. He considers that by now, Sai must be close to delivering his payload for the Uzumaki brat. He hoped the boy liked his present. Mentally doing a victory lap, his attention is drawn away from his work. Something, was it squeaking? No, a scratching sound? He had never had mice in his home before. Konoha was full of cats, and they did a wonderful job of keeping the mice and rat populations down. Standing and looking for the noise as it was a bit louder, Danzo couldn't help but allow some irritation to work onto his face. No one was here to bluff or order around, so he felt safe letting some emotion show. Walking around his desk in his study, the sound was coming from one of his plants in the middle of the room. Coming up to it and running a hand through its thick leaves, Danzo pauses as he tried to rationalize what he is seeing. At the base of the plant and hiding among the leaves was a Naruto. Only about 3 inches in height and dressed in his old orange jumpsuit, the boy was giving him the finger. Suck my miniaturized cock, you miserable bastard. Even his voice was squeaking and cute. What wasn't cute was the bubble that suddenly surrounded Danzo, taking on a deep yellow tinge as his plant began to glow brightly. Welling up his chakra and unbinding his right arm, he only just makes it as the explosions begin. Late at night though it is, Danzo's home is lit up briefly, the explosions real time lasting no more than a few seconds, while Danzo himself endured 3 minutes of constant assault within the barrier. 3 minutes of fire, light and heat that ripped him apart and reduced him ashes. When the smoke cleared, Danzo stepped out of the crater in his floor, everything that had been caught in the barrier reduced to ash and charcoal, while he himself was unscathed. Frowning at the 2 Uchiha eyes that were now closed on his arm, he set about rebinding them while he considered what he was going to do. The boy had forced him to use his Izanagi. That was more than a little concerning. And apparently the boy was still alive. Wonderful. What else could go wrong? Chapter 46. Deep below the Uzumaki Tower were several basement levels not available to either civilians or the fledgling normal ninja forces. Sectioned off for those of Jonin rank or for specialized circumstances like those of the Border SEAL monitors, these levels housed several of Uzushio's Black Ops projects. From the level dedicated to Karen's Golem projects and her medical experiments, to the level dedicated to the border monitoring SEALs and staff, to further down the prison cells which currently only had one inhabitant. Naruto walked along with Karen at his side, a frown on his face as he considered how to handle things. Kotohime and Tayuya were taking the Kiri group on a tour of the city before they leave to return to their own island. They had decided to formally sign a tentative alliance treaty this morning, and Mei was going to spread the news of their alliance among her people along with the news that Mei would be sponsoring Naruto and Uzushio as a full ninja village. For now, Naruto and Karen are making their way down to the prison area. Karen walks along just in front of Naruto, clipboard in hand and making notes as she explains what has happened with the captured sound ninja so far. Kimimaro is a goner one way or another. Even with my best healing and the medical tubes, reattaching his head just isn't possible. But with his body as intact as it was, there's a chance we could revive his clan. Surely we could have more than enough volunteers for such a project. Even she knew the male-to-female ratio in their country was a little off. Wars did crater the amount of men left after all, and most of their people had come from either war-torn nations or prisoners of Orochimaru. Naruto shrugs and isn't too happy about the idea. It seems both disgusting and wrong. I don't like the idea of doing the same type of experiments that Orochimaru or even Danzo would get up to. Karen nods. I figured you would say as much. But, his body does have abilities that could help medical advancements for others. And like I said, I would want to use volunteers for this. We wouldn't force anyone into anything. Think about it, I'm sure there are more than a few women out there who would love to band together to start a ninja clan. Or even current ninja who wouldn't mind adding the Kagaya blood limit to their own. Karen would ultimately forget the entire idea if Naruto said no, but she would at least push as much as she could. She truly did only have the best interests of Uzushio at heart. Seeing where she was coming from, Naruto concedes that point. We should keep his body under stasis for study for now. I'll think about possibly reviving his clan in the future. But if you can help people medically in the meantime, I'm okay with you working on that. Making a note and breathing a small sigh of relief, Karen continues with her update. Sakon's and Yukon's unique ability is simply too dangerous to do anything safe with it. The ability to merge with another living being and even torture or kill them is just. It's way past inhumane as far as I'm concerned. I'll trust your judgment on that. Unless they have a bounty on them, go ahead and burn their corpse. Naruto wasn't about to spread that ability around if he could help it. The thought of someone being able to take over his body just gave him the creeps. I'd more than likely just burn them out with my chakra if they tried that on you. Oh, yeah, that's a good point, huh? And you're a Kage now. Maybe give the chair to the bookworm, she's the real brains here. Everyone else is smart, I just blow things up. You don't say. Karen flags that in her notes. I'll get to that in a bit then. From here they come to a clean room with medical equipment on one side and a medical bed on the other. Waving a hand to the shackles and restraining bands on the bed, Karen turns back to Naruto. We can remove Kadamaru from stasis and question him quickly, though he likely won't survive. He had lost a lot of blood before he was sealed, and most likely he'll still be able to use his curse seal. But this would be the most appropriate place to do it. Naruto ponders that for a moment before coming up short on their count. What about the last member of the Sound Four? Checking her notes for a moment, Karen points back towards the door. We have Jirobu in a cell, since he wasn't injured and had been bound with ninja wire and chakra suppressors. He's been pretty tight-lipped about things so far. I want to talk to him first. See what he has to say. Naruto watches as Karen nods, and they leave to find the cell block. As they walk, Karen adjusts her glasses and looks over her shoulder. Have you slowed down at all with your training? Naruto nods slowly, just a bit. Keeping up with our workload has been an adjustment. What about you? Still working exclusively with your seals and chains? For the most part. I want to reach the level that our ancestors apparently had. To be able to restrain a Biju completely on my own. Anoka is much the same now that she has a home and more free time. She's been training much like myself. Make sure not to burn yourself out, okay? We still have a long way to go. Karen grins, locking eyes with him as they turn a corner. Don't worry, I won't be training or work any more than you do. That she was smirking had Naruto shaking his head as they came upon the prison cells. Rows upon rows of them, but only one was occupied. They meet Jirobo, clothes still filthy and splattered with blood from their disastrous beach entry. Naruto walks up to the bars covered in seals, giving the bare room a once-over. There was a slab of rock that served as a bed and a toilet in the corner, nothing else. So, you're one of Orochi team's men. Wanna be a good boy and tell me what you're doing here? Jirobo had been stewing here on his own since his capture. He knew the others were dead. Kadamaru's injury wouldn't have been survivable even with his cursed seal. That meant he was alone here. Looking up, Jirobo takes in the blonde with mismatched blue and purple eyes and the traitor Karen standing slightly behind him. Baring his teeth, he focuses on her. You bitch. You had one job and you couldn't even handle that. When Lord Orochimaru hears about this, he'll burn this village to the ground. Just you wait. Shaking his head, Naruto squats down to look Jirobo in the eye. Orochi team and I have some unfinished business. But I'd prefer if you answer my questions before I start getting stabby. Jirobo scoffed, I'll never talk. Lord Orochimaru's will is absolute. He'll destroy everything you love right in front of your eyes. Rolling his eyes and rooting around in a pocket for a moment, he eventually comes up with a light green scroll. Unrolling it and tearing free a foot-long section, he places the pre-made seal across the bars. Naruto nods as the cell itself glows the same light green. Okay, let's try that again. Why are you here? We were ordered to find you and kill you. Jirobo's eyes widened. Why did he just answer him so easily? Why couldn't he say anything on his own now? Grunting and straining, he locked suddenly fearful eyes on the grinning blonde. Yeah, you never had a chance there. So. Where's Orochimaru? To the west in the land of rivers. There's a base there near one of the border bridges. Naruto looked back to see Karen taking notes and he nodded and continued, how many sound bases remain? And what are they for? 3 that I know of. The one I mentioned, one near the land of lightning and one in the land of wind. Both of the others hold prisoners and experiments. If I let you go, would you return to Orochimaru? I've spoken of too much. I would bite off my own tongue. Naruto hummed at that and thought it over. Eventually, he thought about Ino and snapped his fingers. If your squad had been wiped out at the border, would you have returned? Yes. Naruto goes back to grinning, taking out a full suppression seal and tossing it onto Jirobu's forehead. Within a breath, the large teen was slumped forward on his knees, and Naruto was standing to remove his truth seal. Karen was still writing notes, though she watched as Naruto opened the cell and removed sealing ink and a brush. That was a curious move. What are you going to do? Just provide a little present for Orochimaru. Can you go get Ino? I need some memories wiped out. Oh yes, Naruto decided. Just like Danzo, Orochimaru was going to get a little get-well-soon gift from him. You don't mess with an Uzumaki. Scene change, far away in Kumogakure, B is standing before his Kage, in his office. Alone. The rest of the group had been sent to the hall, and it was now only the older A and the Biju container facing off. The atmosphere is oppressive as neither one truly knew what to say to the other without things turning instantly into a shouting match, until with a sigh B shrugs. There really wasn't anything for it. I told you violence or seduction weren't going to work. Especially being in the land of hot waters. Conflict there is a one-way trip to a small war. A scowls, you could have dragged him back here like you were told. Surely some barely trained brat wouldn't have put up that much of a fight against you. B shakes his head, that would have leveled a good portion of the land of hot waters. The kid is strong and talented, he took on the Tsuchikage's daughter alone and unprepared along with her backup. Sure, I might have been able to beat him in a fight, but there was no guarantee. The older Jinchuriki knew he could have beaten the Kyuubi container in the end, but he was being honest about the level of destruction needed to do so. And if one of this wives had gotten hurt? B shuddered at what might have been. A scoffs, does anyone here care about what happens to a buffer nation like that? I think you're both overestimating the boy and making excuses for just enjoying time outside of the country. He was untrained, there should be no issue overpowering him quickly. Which until A saw the boy for himself, he would be hard-pressed to believe that some barely 15-year-old kid could do that much damage. Bingo book entry or not. B is still shaking his head, one hand coming up to scratch his head. Mr. Nine's seals are nothing to sneeze at, never mind some of the techniques I had a chance to see. No. Me and Yuki are strong, but tanking a blast that could create a mile-wide crater did not sound like fun. Stewing in frustration, A finally sits back, go. I'll deal with you more later. But find Yujito and send her to me. B nods and leaves, long strides carrying him to the doorway with a rare scowl on his own face. He just knew A wouldn't be letting this go, even if he probably should. Outside and sunglass-covered eyes landing on the younger blonde, he hooks a thumb over his shoulder, bro wants a word. Seeing the woman nod, he tosses his hands into his pockets and trudges off. His entire demeanor screamed leave him alone, and everyone within the building was more than happy to do so. Behind him Yujito gives everyone left a confused look before heading inside to stand at attention before her Kage's desk. A looks up and watches her for a quiet minute, not saying anything. Sniffing, he lays his hands on his desk. I am a little disappointed, but I realize that it was my brother, not you, who drove this mission to failure. So instead, I'm going to give you a mission all your own. Seeing the woman stand a little straighter but not respond, I internally grinned. There have been more whispers that perhaps the maelstrom is in the land of wave. And that there might be a new village building up. Go, ask around, find him, and complete the mission. Bring him back. Yujito nods. Am I to complete this solo, or with a team? A waves a hand in the air, alone, only return if there is a major complication. His eyes harden a bit, and it better be a major complication. Do not return otherwise until your mission is complete. Yujito bows, what about the others? A waves them all off, the rest are dismissed, but they need to submit formal reports. I want to see everyone's different opinions on just what went wrong. Yujito bows again and leaves, silent steps taking her back to the reception room where the rest of Samui's team and Samui herself were waiting. I'm being sent out, everyone is to remain here, though you need to submit reports about this debacle. Samui is curious, but realizes it's going to be a shit show. You've got your work cut out for you. Guess the vacation was over for now. Yujito just shrugs, I have my orders, as do you. I have to see them through. whether she liked them or not. Scene change in the island nation of Wave. The sun is bright and large fluffy clouds floated by overhead. It was a good omen as far as the combined group of Konoha escorts and the Suna group were concerned. Crossing over the Great Naruto Bridge, the combined group enter the land of Wave. Those that haven't seen the bridge are impressed and express their feelings as such. It was a marvel of engineering, and the monument to their own Team 7 sent a few teasing remarks towards Sakura and Sasuke. Sakura can't help but grumble, Naruto's ego can't possibly get any bigger. You'd think that he'd consider changing the name or something. Next to her, Sasuke nudges her. Though she was mumbling, he knew what she was saying, better remember to play nice. I will. Sighing and heavily shrugging her shoulders, she leans into him for some support. Think everything will turn out alright? Sasuke didn't really have an answer for her, hopefully. With everyone here, hopefully we can ditch Sai. We can hope. Ahead of them, a smiling Tsunami was waiting with several aides. Temari was waving to the woman with a wide smile. Good morning, Tsunami. Good morning, Temari. We welcome you and your group to Wave. If you would all easily give your ID numbers and names so that we can register you for the duration of your stay, that would be wonderful. All of her aides begin to spread out to the other teams, while she personally and quickly registers the Suna group. Kiba grumbles a bit about the process. What do we need to register for? Not like there's a ninja village here to worry about. Kakashi turned a focused eye back on the genin. You might not be aware, but normal nations fall prey to ninja all the time. Taking precautions is a smart thing to do among normal civilians. Asum shrugged after he gave his own information to a pretty brunette with jade eyes. Even with this ninja could, lie. Tsunami is walking towards Team 7, a smile still on her face. It's just a part of our new policy is all. Please don't worry, your information will be destroyed upon you leaving the country. She comes to stand before Sai personally, eyes lingering on him the longest before her smile brightens just a tad. Name and ID? Taking down his information as he gave it, she soon floated away to walk beside Temari. Will you need anything for your visit? Temari shakes her head. We should be good. We secured a room at the Evergreen Hotel. But I'll make sure to stop by sometime during our stay. With a bow, Tsunami and her aides form up away from the group. Thank you for your time, everyone. I do hope you enjoy your stay in Wave. They soon melt back into the crowd. Soon lost and out of sight, it unnerves the group just a bit. Shino raises an eyebrow that goes unseen. Are we sure they aren't ninja? Kakashi shakes his head. Last I checked, no. And we had a mission here pretty recently. Sakura shakes her head. Wasn't it like a year ago now? Sasuke thinks on that one, hand playing with the end of his new Chikuto. Has it been that long already? Time sure did fly when your friend was running all over the nations. Kankuro turns back towards the Leaf Ninja as Temari begins leading their brother down busy roads. Come on. We've got rooms for you all as well. Making their way through the market, the various teams all take in the city around them. As they wander by a weapons shop, Tenten nearly plasters herself against the window. Look at that. They have tridents and spears and fish hooks. It all looks really well made too. It would make sense, they did start out as a fishing town. Asuma looked around at the more big city feel and mentally made the switch that this wasn't a small town anymore. More of a shipping hub these days. Sakura nods, and to think, if Gato never tried to squeeze them for all they were worth, it might never have happened. Kakashi chuckled. Think Wave should build him an altar in his afterlife? Fat chance of that. Sakura shook her head as the street widened and they watched as trolley cars rolled by slowly with supplies from the docks. Guy noticed it and put a hand to his chin. Heavy transports by rail. Smart for such a civilian-heavy country. Kankuro called back again. Keep up, would ya? You can sightsee all you want later. Temari looks back as the Leaf Group is amazed at the progress of Wave, taking in the sights and sounds. You all have rooms within the Evergreen on our dime, but from here on you'll are on your own. In 3 days' time we'll meet back up in order to return to Konoha and then the Land of Wind. The squad leaders all nod and they all decide to check into their rooms first upon reaching the hotel. The entrance hall for the tall and gleaming hotel is a grand affair, lots of granite flooring and tall glass windows gilded in silver. Temari was quick to get their group checked in with the receptionist before tossing room keys to the separate jonin. From there, and a few rides up quiet elevators, the various Leaf Jonin find their rooms and begin issuing instructions to their teams. Guy has led his team into a large room that offers 2 bedrooms and a main sitting area. Though for now, he stands before the couch while his genin all sit before him. While we are here we can't train, but you should endeavor to be on your best behavior and explore to your heart's content. Enjoy your youth and kindle your passionate fires. Kiba knew what sort of fires he wanted to kindle, wonder if there's a beach nearby. Shino sighs at the usual nonsense from his teammate and friend, your libido will get you in trouble one day. Lee thrusts a fist in the air while taking Guy's words to heart, we should explore the docks, never know what we'll find. Kiba shrugged, not a bad idea. There might be a boardwalk of some type. Bet there would be plenty of cute girls there. One room over Asuma is giving the same type of speech to his own team, I shouldn't have to worry about you three, correct? Choji already has a bag of chips in his hands, I wonder what kind of food a seaside port city could have. Surely they had to cater to a wide range of tastes here. Wonder what type of cuisine they had to offer. Tenten is actually curious about that as well. Well, I do want to check out the various weapons shops around here, but we could go on a foodie tour at the same time. Shikamaru can't believe his luck as it seems like the day might be rather chill, I'm down for whatever. So long as we take it easy. Team building would be good for them in the end. Another room over and Kakashi has given his team the same speech, though within a breath of finishing, there's a knock on their door. Sasuke opens it and Kankuro comes in. Yo, you actually don't have time to relax. Temari wants your team with us. So let's get moving. Kakashi is surprised to say the least, but nods, guess that's that team, forget the time off and head out. Team 7 heads out of their room and meets back up with the Suna group in the hallway. With a nod from Gaara, they head back down the elevators and leave the hotel, treading through the city. Temari turns and walks backwards to talk with the squad, I'm sure you'll be surprised but this isn't all there is to Wave, there's actually a real and separate capital city. Though we'll have to travel by train to get to the island that it's on. Idly, she watches Sai's face, and notes that he doesn't even twitch in surprise, though the other two at least try to pretend. Sai speaks up for once with his mind fully on his mission from Danzo now, that's an ingenious way to hide a city. Must have taken a lot of time to build. Temari nods as she turns and comes back to Gaara's side, it surprised me as well when I met the leader before on my last trip. But he was looking for allies, and Suna could use those right now. Thoughtful and considering how to get this information back to Danzo, Sai only nods and falls back into his normally quiet facade. Sakura and Sasuke share a look but say nothing as the group continues on up the main road towards a tall and gleaming concrete and glass construction that was even now looked to be still receiving work and a paint job. It was truly impressive, especially with the amount of people they could see going in and out. Even Kakashi gives a low whistle as they finally reach the train station. Gaara is the first to raise his eyebrows and speak up, I can see why they wanted so much glass-making sand and marble stone shipments from Suna. Ahead of them they see a pair of familiar faces, Hinata and Ino stand before a single car train trimmed in reds and golds while waving to the group. Temari is the first to walk up to the pair, of course they send you too. Or what, did he finally get bored of ya and wanted to make sure I got here safely? Ino rolls her eyes and hugs her friend, oh stuff it fangirl, we volunteered to come and get ya. Weaving around the other blonde to spy her pink-haired friend, Ino ignored the commentary between Temari and Hinata to sidle up to Sakura and wrap her longest friend in a firm hug. Hey there billboard brow. Missed ya. Smacking her friend in the shoulder as they pulled apart, Sakura was smiling all the same, you better watch it. I've been training with Tsunade and I'm getting pretty strong these days. I think I could take you this time. We can spar later and find out. Hinata, however, is clapping her hands together to gain everyone's attention. We do have a schedule, so if everyone could board so we can set out. Face open and sincere, the group does as she asks and boards the train quickly. Following inside behind everyone else, Hinata floats to the front of the car while Ino makes sure everyone finds a seat. You know, if you're here, then that means he's here, yeah? Sakura was doing her best to play along as Ino sat across the aisle from her team. They were trying to keep Sai in the dark for as long as possible, though Team 17 wasn't sure why the Uzumaki decided to let him come along. They knew he was a plant. And they knew Danzo was up to some dirty shit. Oh well, it wasn't up to Sakura to figure it out. Ino nods, yeah, Naruto's back in Yuzu, hard at work as always. You'll see him probably. Smirking and laying it on kinda thick, she wondered if Naruto was right. If Sai would make his move soon or not. She personally hoped he didn't do anything at all. So many things could go wrong. How is the little brat? He finally starting to grow a little bit or what? Kankuro is leaning out from his own seat while Hinata is walking back towards them, and the train jolts a bit and starts to make its way down the tracks. Hinata herself can only smile and gently push a finger into his forehead to move him out of the way. Please remember that little brat nearly killed you. Well, you know. If it was a proper one-on-one, it'd be different. Temari rolled her eyes and pointed a finger at her brother. You do remember what he did to a transformed Gaara, right? You really want to take that on one-on-one? Temari shook her head. Be my guest. I'll be there to console him when you die. Don't you mean Gaara? To console Gaara? Oh, of course. That's who I meant. The twinkle in her eyes told Kankuro a different story, and he laid out on the table. Gaara, Temari is getting that look again. Make her stop. Kankuro wasn't whining. No. Men didn't do that. Gaara just leveled a bored look towards his big sister. Do you have to tease him? It's my job. Still wish he'd stay out of my makeup though. It's war paint. Through it all, Kakashi watches the quiet and very introspective Sai. Unintentionally, just like the others, he really hopes the boy won't try anything. Never mind the ramifications for what that would mean for relations between Konoha and Uzushio. He was worried about what it would do for relations between Team 7 and Naruto himself. Sure, the boy would know they didn't want him here, but if something happened, emotions got the best of them all. The train rattles along and they make the trip easily enough, coming out the other end and stopping among a just as grand and busy train station. Following Hinata and Ino out through the crowds and brightly skylight-lit walkways, they come out to see a fresh and green countryside with a growing city not that far in the distance. Buildings stretching into the sky, though many still have scaffolding around them, the group could still acknowledge that the progress here has been immense. Ino directs them to a trolley, which they board and begin to make their way towards the city center. Hinata clears her throat to gain everyone's attention. The Uzumaki Tower is getting some retrofits at the moment for an airship demonstration, so there might be some construction going on when we arrive. I hope you understand. Gaara sits with his arms crossed, but quietly watches the scenery float by. Suna is very interested in that technology as well. Tunneling to the land of wind is a decent idea. But airships capable of shipping and transport would be easier to use right away. Temari nods, plus it would be a lot less resource-intensive on our end, though we won't see as much traffic. Hinata smiles and nods. We will notify you when the first demonstration is set to occur. So you can see the proceedings for yourselves. Sai speaks up again, curious about what he heard. You said it was the Uzumaki Tower, correct? Why name it after your clan? Flicking her hair over her shoulder, Ino jabs a thumb into her chest. 'Cause we live there. The Uzumaki mansion is housed on the upper floors. Sai nods as the group continues on their journey. Sakura eyes the boy but raises a hand, much to curious smiles from everyone else. What point is there to airships if you can easily use trains? Looking at each other for a moment, Ino eventually points to Hinata, who sighs and answers, trains can only run along their rails to locations that we've built. Airships can go anywhere and land even in areas that don't have the specialized landing pads so long as there is a large enough clear space. So exploration, travel to rocky or mountainous areas or long distances over the ocean would be available to airships but not trains. Satisfied with the answer and curiosity sated, Sakura nods and sits back. I wonder if we'll find other ways to fly in the future. I'm sure we will. The spring engineers are hard at work all the time now, coming up with new and interesting inventions. Hinata had no problem praising the men and women of the engineering corps. They did amazing work. Coming to the city center, Ino leads the way off of the trolley as everyone follows along behind her. She leads them to the Uzumaki Memorial, where the Leaf and Suna Ninja read it over, smiling while offering prayers. Laid to rest are the bones of the betrayed, but their dreams of peace live on. We are a people of resilience, of strength, of love. For the peaceful future we all wish for, never forget the fallen. Sai, however, seeing everyone distracted, slips away into the crowd and enters the Uzumaki Tower. Free to think, he wonders if this'll be good enough for Lord Danzo. He did want him to target the Uzumaki, though with his stolen bomb, this would surely do more damage than just destroy the tower. Oh well, it wasn't for him to think about, he was just a sacrifice for Lord Danzo's will. Pausing as he reaches the central pillar containing the elevators to the upper floors, Sai consults the ceiling to consider if this is as close to the center of the floor space as he was going to get. Someone steps forward to question him, but Sai ignores them. Sir, are you okay? Do you need assistance? The nameless functionary was not new to his job, having been at this for months now, helping people navigate their way around the tower and to their destinations within the city itself. This odd and very pale teenager wasn't all that strange in the long run. Except that he refused to answer him. "Young man? Hello? You're blocking one of the elevators. Do you need something here?" Looking at the man for a moment, coming up that this was a civilian and not a ninja, Sai augments himself with chakra for a brief moment and backhands the assistant away. Gasps and worried voices rise over the din of the usual human noise, but Sai isn't focused on that now. Unsealing the scroll he had received from Danzo, before further unsealing the scroll stolen from Naruto himself. Jumping and landing on the ceiling, sticking himself there with chakra, he notices for a moment that as people are rushing out of the building quickly, Team 7 and the Suna group are trying to rush towards him. It would be unfortunate that the Kazekage would die this time, but surely it would be to the Leaf's benefit. Eyes finding his temporary teammates who in their own way had tried to help him warm up a bit, Sai offers them an actual genuine smile, chakra beginning to pump into the scroll. Sakura however is frowning, twin kunai appearing in hand as she's already winding up to throw them at the boy, Sai. "What are you doing?" Her scream is tinged with rage. Why had Naruto been okay with him coming? It made no sense. And now he was going to use one of Naruto's crazy bombs. Sai just shakes his head, several Yuzu ninja jumping towards him, for Danzo-sama's will. Scroll beginning to pulse and glow orange, Sai releases his chakra from his feet and begins to fall. He was going to die, one way or another. But that was okay. His ordeal was finally over. Pulsing picking up pace as everyone watches on, Sai is startled as several ninja dog pile him and drop him to the ground, sealing his chakra with a seal tag while binding his hands and feet together with ninja wire. Next to them, the scroll was visibly vibrating and still glowing brightly, while Team 7 looked on in horror. What the dash Kakashi was a second away from attempting a Raikiri on it just to see if it would work to disable the bomb. With a pop, the scroll sizzled and stopped illuminating the room around itself. Returning back to its normal form first before a small Naruto poofs into existence on top of it, mooning Sai and giving him the finger. "Oh, you thought, huh? But it was me. Naruto. Wahahaha. Better luck next time." With another poof, Naruto was gone. With a ding, one of the elevators opens and the real Naruto himself steps out, flanked by Karen and Tayuya. The Team Kage was all grins as he walks up to the restrained Sai. Naruto knows he won't get anything out of him right now, being one of Danzo's root ninja after all. But they also knew how to free him if he wanted to be freed. So instead, his eyes trail towards the members of the Chinoike that had been on duty today. "Take him to a cell. I'll deal with him later." "Yes, sir." Saluting to Naruto, they pick up the boy and take him away to the elevators to make the trip down below the tower. Naruto takes another few steps forward in order to pick up the stolen scroll. Took the old bastard long enough to find one of them. Applying chakra to it while the others rushed to come towards him, they all retreated to the side of the seal scroll crumbling away into dust. A new more genuine smile on his face, Naruto gives a lazy salute to Gaara. "Yo. Welcome to Uzushio. Where we specialize in taking down crazy ninja and making things go boom." Shaking his head and walking forward, Gaara holds out a hand which Naruto takes and shakes happily. "Temari said you can never stay out of trouble. I'm almost worried what an alliance between our nations will be like." It'll be fine. Mostly, probably." Turning and finally seeing everyone else, Naruto waves to them. "So you finally get to see my new home." Sakura is the first to leap forward to hug him tightly. "You ass. You could have warned us that you had something planned for Sai." Sasuke was nodding along with eye smiling Kakashi. "She's right, you know. We were trying to figure out how we could ditch him at some point." Gaara shrugs. "I think it was a good show, really drives home that Uzushio can defend itself." Naruto nods as Sakura steps away as Karen and Tayuya sidle up next to him and give their greetings. "Don't worry y'all, I'll explain everything later once we get upstairs. But, as an apology, how about something special?" Holding up his left arm, Naruto channels chakra and reveals the row of seals there. The one is dark. "Here you go Sakura, pick one. Call it a gift for not visiting enough." "A gift, huh?" Eyes wide and knowing better than to question him before she did as he asked, she chose the one on the far right, closest to his wrist and watched as it went dark. Nothing happened, but Naruto released his chakra and allowed his sleeve to fall back into place. "Now, let's get upstairs and get this meeting started. And afterwards I'll make sure Team 7 can come and go however they please to Uzushio from now on." Laughing and turning back towards the wall of elevators, Sakura only watches as everyone starts to follow along behind him. Hinata nudges her to get moving, don't worry about it. He'll explain it eventually. Sakura can only sigh, why do I get the feeling I've just become an accessory to something horrible? Turning to look at the shorter girl, her worries only increase as Hinata just walked beside her smiling. What do those do? Oh, nothing to be worried about. I am so worried. I am all of the worry right now. Hinata however just pulls away to join the Suna siblings, leaving Team 7 with Ino and Tayuya. Naruto made me blow something up, didn't he? Far away within Konoha, Danzo is walking away from the Hokage Tower after a minor council meeting. Having no real concerns for the rest of the day, he decides that maybe a check-in with his route would be a good idea. That decision made, he's forced to pause as a cracking noise reaches his ears and he loses balance. His cane decided now would be a good time to break, splitting down the center. Concerned at the bad omen, he eventually comes to the conclusion that being superstitious over it wouldn't do him any good. He had this particular cane for a long while, things break over time. He continues on his way, making sure his limp is much more noticeable since he didn't really need the walking aid in the first place. He hopes that Sai has reached the Uzumaki by now, and idly thinks about what he'll do if the boy does end up dead. Certainly Konoha will need to secure what's left of him and his clan, for protection of course. Never mind the funds that are sure to be recovered. Dropping into an alley and running chakra along a wall, a secret entrance into the root tunnels is revealed. Making sure as usual that no one is nearby, he steps in and starts to make his way much more naturally. He doesn't flinch as the wall behind him closes back up, nor as torches light themselves to show him the way. The hallway he found himself in was a long affair, one way in and out for a few hundred meters, but he preferred it this way. Made it impossible for someone to sneak up on him or lay a trap. At least, that was the goal of it. Because at the moment he can hear footsteps beyond his own. Someone was following him. That should be impossible. No one else was in the alleyway when he checked, and he couldn't feel any other chakra signatures near him. Still, he pauses to look behind him, seeing no one there in the long hallway. Maybe he was finally getting to be a little too paranoid. Turning back, he sighs as he sees yet another small Naruto there. This one however, came up to his knee and was very much a girl, dressed in a bikini of orange and black. Danzo sighs, just knowing this wouldn't end well and running wasn't an option. Are you here to waste more of my time, boy? Flipping her ponytails over her shoulders, the girl Naruto idly cleaned under her nails with a kunai. Depends, you gonna keep trying to kill the original? Danzo shakes his head, you have no proof of anything involving me. So be careful with your actions, boy. The chibi clone takes a long look down at itself, before cocking a hip one way and then the other. First, I'm a girl. I know you're old and your eyesight's probably real bad. But these tits are too rockin' to be a boy. And second, you could at least be better at lying. Old codgers like you should be good at it. I'm not in the habit of lying anymore. I'm too old for it. The clone shrugs and winks at him, yeah, keep telling yourself that. Ja-ni. The explosion was sudden and intense, and as Danzo was suddenly covered in liquid fire that adhered to him like jelly, prompting scream of agony from his throat, the older ninja lamented the other problem with a long featureless hallway. There was nothing to substitute with. Within another breath, Danzo is stepping back into reality, looking back at the fire-covered hallway and the small crater where the clone used to be. Another eye sacrificed, and that began to prompt some real worry in him. Because this meant either Naruto knew he couldn't die, or the truth, that he had a set number of resurrections. Both situations worried him immensely, but there was no going back now. Both men were set on killing the other. And as Danzo turned to continue on his way, now much more alert, he was determined to see the boy die, just like his clan had. Chapter 47. Naruto needed some time to himself for once, so today found him on top of the Uzumaki Tower. Mei and her guards had one more day here before leaving back to Kirigakure, and Naruto had decided she and Gaara should meet at least once. Gaara and his escorts were hanging out in Wave for a few more days, and he knew they would be looking forward to a meeting with the other island nation. The rest of the Konoha group had been informed of what had happened as much as they could, but Naruto figured he would have to sit down with them all personally soon. For Team 7 though, Naruto at least promised them that they would always be welcome here in Uzushio. He left them with paper Haration tags at the least, so he could come and visit them often. Sasuke had made him promise to come visit his home with his girls at least once or twice, now that he had visited Yuzu. The memory put a smile on Naruto's face as he looked out over the city. Uzushio had friends in other nations now, and security was strengthening. Now it was just a matter of making sure the last two offenders wouldn't try anything crazy. Feeling a small spike of chakra behind him, he looked back as it was Hinata and Ino who were climbing up onto the roof to walk towards him. "Hey there, Whiskers. Thought we might find you here." Ino was all smiles as she came to sit down on his left, comfortably looking out over the city with him. On his right, Hinata did the same, though she leaned into his shoulder, prompting him to wrap an arm around her softly. "Yeah, just needed a moment was all." Naruto returned to looking out over the noonday city. "We're going to have to put teams together, we have 3 targets." Hinata had her eyes closed as she just enjoyed the closeness. "We're marching on sound then?" Naruto nods, "Yeah. The goal is for all 3 teams to find the bases at staggered times, hopefully. They summon me, we'll raid them and destroy the remains, and return here to Uzushio. Of course, the final base with Orochimaru is less a raid and more a planned destruction. That snake has gotten away from me one too many times." Ino chuckled and slapped a hand on her knee. "Tayuya is going to be mad if she isn't put on that team. Don't I know it? And it'll happen." Naruto turned his eyes upward as he thought further along. "After that, we'll relax, work out our standing in the world, and I'm going to be gone for a few months." Ino sighed, some of the wind out of her sails. "Going to train with the toads then?" "Yeah. Shouldn't take long though. A few months tops." They had become a bit more insistent with him lately. He didn't want to keep putting them off and had promised that he would come once Uzushio was stable. Now that it was, or at least soon would be, he couldn't fight it anymore. "I'll still find ways to get in contact with you all and keep you updated." Hinata shook her head. "You shouldn't. You'll need to focus 100% on your training if you want to complete it quickly and return to us." Here she poked him in the side gently. "We will be fine, Naruto. Don't worry so much." Ino bumped him on the other shoulder. "She's right, you know, you worry a lot." "Fine. I'll train hard and fast and come back to you all super strong and ready to defend Uzushio from the world if need be." Naruto finally reached out and wrapped an arm around Ino, dragging her into him. "More than that though, I might take a trip with Jiraiya at least once, probably not as long though." Grumbling and keeping her own thoughts of the old pervert to herself, Ino finally laid her head on his shoulder. "You better not come back just as perverted as him." Naruto chuckled. "I thought you girls liked me being a pervert." Hinata poked him again. "Yes, with us. But not a womanizer like him." Hi. I'll make sure not to turn out like him." "Good." Ino settled back down as they watched the people down below. "How long do you think it'll take for Jirobu to make it back to Orochimaru?" "I give it 2 weeks. 3 max. We banged him up pretty good to really sell it that his squad was wiped out at the border before reaching us." Naruto couldn't wait for Orochimaru to get his present. "You're evil." "I try sometimes." They sat there together for a while longer, just enjoying the view and each other. Naruto wondered briefly if there was a way he could guarantee every day would be like this. Peaceful yet busy. Behind them they heard another shuffle and Naruto looked back as Kotohime was pulling herself up to stand behind them. "The Kazekage and the Mizukage will be arriving soon." She didn't want to interrupt the 3, but work was calling. All 3 of the relaxing ninja knew their time was limited and with some shuffling and a groan they were all 3 up and following Kotohime back down into the tower. Naruto couldn't help but try to feel out with his chakra. "I don't feel Karen or Anoka nearby, they out training?" Kotohime nods from her place in front of them as they walk through the halls of their home towards the elevators. They both decided to go train together with their sealing arts. "They've gone out to the fortress with Sasami and Kin." Ino raised an eyebrow. "What are those 2 doing out there? Training as well?" "That's what they said. Yugo was apparently going to spend the day on the beach, communing with nature," he said. Naruto nods. "I really can't wait to see what nature chakra is all about." Ino shook her head. "You're already stupid powerful, like you need another boost." Naruto can't help but chuckle. "Maybe I'll get strong enough to break the moon in half one day?" Hinata smacked him in the back of the head. "No. Bad Naruto. No breaking the world." Sharing a laugh, they all travel down into the tower proper, ready to get this next meeting underway. Scene change. Itachi was one who could follow orders to the letter and then some. Having been inducted into the ninja corps at such a young age, the idea of true free will didn't really appeal to him. That said, the normally quiet and introspective Nuke Nin could appreciate certain freedoms. The freedom to murder certain people high on that list. Leader had decided that the teams needed to be shuffled a bit and thus, he and Daidara were escorting Conan back to the land of Wave. It wasn't like she needed the protection to be honest, but Pain had decided that they were going to make this somewhat official. And also, just in case things went south, it would be good to have one person who could potentially control the QB and another who could counter high explosives. At least in theory. That would be of course if Itachi didn't kill the loudmouth blonde before they got to their destination. So I'm thinking, he obviously doesn't use explosive release like I do, so his art must revolve around seals somehow. It's a masterwork really, and I'll want some time to pick his brain and maybe we can exchange notes back and forth. He'll have to be impressed with what I've been able to do with my own art as well, so I think that'll be a good end to getting his attention. Granted, I think he's the better and I'll make sure to butter him up as much as possible. Itachi tuned out the ranting Deidara as he walked along next to the other member of their group. Conan was as usual, her quiet and aloof self. Ever the picture of traditional beauty, at least she wasn't one he had to worry about. Conan, do you believe we can keep things civil with our group? I must remind you, Naruto has chosen to join my brother in killing me. And wasn't that just humorous? To think Sasuke would seek help in his revenge. Conan was thinking that she might have let her fantasies play out a bit too much in her mind, which had led to this less than optimal decision. Deidara wasn't a bad pick, even if he wouldn't shut the hell up, but Itachi both was and wasn't. When needed, he would be calm and collected, able to make level decisions when necessary. While on the other, yes, Naruto might just jump to killing him on sight before she had a chance to explain. Maybe she could keep him confined to a room before meeting with Naruto? I believe Naruto is strong enough to look beyond issues of the past if it means an alliance. But, your worries are noted. I am just traveling in order to extend an invitation to him so he may meet with Pain. You might have to stay within my hotel room until I return. Yes, that wasn't a bad idea, stay in the room, get comfy. Itachi hummed at that, I suppose. It is your decision in the end. Pain had been very clear about what would happen to either of them if harm came to Conan. Itachi believed himself powerful for sure, but even he wasn't suicidal enough to fight against a fully mature Rinnegan. They still had a few days before reaching Wave anyway, so they could brainstorm and come up with plans. Behind them, Deidara had continued along as if this was his own special mission. Surely the young master wouldn't mind a quick spare or two. We could trade ideas and theories. Maybe grow close enough to really bond with one another, yeah? Yes, I think this'll be a good time to discuss a real partnership from here on. Truly a momentous occasion lays ahead that Itachi just sighed and turned a tired eye to Conan, I'm going to kill him. Conan looked his way before shaking her head, please don't, can you imagine what kind of replacement we'll receive if he dies? They both shuddered at that. With their luck, it would be someone even more insane than him. Somewhere far away, Obito sneezed. Scene change, Naruto sat at the head of the large meeting table. To his right sat Gaara, hands folded neatly on the table, while to his left sat Mei, relaxed back into her chair with her hands in her lap. While the atmosphere was intense, it wasn't a fully friendly feeling. Ao and Chojuro weren't quite glaring at Naruto, but he could certainly feel their eyes on him. Gaara however had all of the tact of a still recovering super introvert, please tell me you and the Mizukage didn't have relations of some sort. Behind him, Kankuro turned wide reverent eyes towards Naruto, while Temari could only giggle and shake her head. Naruto quickly shook his, no, nothing like that. Nope. I'd never. Mei pouted a bit, Uzumaki-sama, and we had gotten so close in the bath too. She wasn't worried, she knew the young lord found her attractive and that was more than enough for now. Ino and Hinata behind him giggled while Naruto nearly panicked as Kojiro was reaching for his weapon, hey now. You know who's missing here, we need Tsunade, yeah. Let me go get Tsunade. With a flash, he was gone. Hinata turned to the older Mizukage, that was mean Terumi-sama. Giggling and waving a hand away, the older woman enjoyed the teasing, but it was fun. But no, Sabaku-sama, Naruto and I have not had relations, as you put it. Gaara only nodded, not seeing the issue, understood. Your business is your own, I just wish for this alliance to be fair for all parties involved. Mei had a glint in her eye that nearly sent Temari and Kankuro running, oh ho, so would it be fair if I joined you for a bath then? Mizukage-sama. Ao and Chojuro were quick to reprimand her, though she weighed them all just as easily as Gaara chuckled. We are in Yuzu, and I've heard that is the custom here. Gaara however noticed Ino, and Hinata looked a bit nervous. Should we be worried that Naruto left to go get the Hokage? Ino chuckled and scratched at her neck. Well, it wasn't something we had planned. Surely he would explain things properly, right? Naruto was nothing if not his usual self. Flashing into the Hokage's office and interrupting a meeting between Tsunade, Jiraiya, Danzo, and the other elder members of the council. Yo old bastard, I need to borrow the old lady for a few minutes. Tsunade was already up and slamming her hands on her desk. What have I told you about just showing up whenever you want? Naruto was already dragging a surprised Jiraiya by the collar towards her. Do it often and without warning? That is the exact opposite of what I said. Danzo was frowning as Naruto grabbed Tsunade by the wrist. We're in the middle of something important, boy. Naruto turned a bored eye towards the old man. God, you're still alive? I'd stay away from windows and long stairs if I were you. And then they were gone. A flash and disturbed papers were all that was left. No, scratch that. A miniature Naruto was left behind on the chair, idly flipping a kunai in the air. I'm just here to make sure nothing stupid happens. Danzo was already scoffing and turning away. This brat acts like he owns the place. And our weak Kage won't do anything about it. Hamura was the first to point out something. We do still owe him a lot of money. She seems to be giving him some leeway because of that. Danzo wanted to toss the weak-willed counselor out the window, but refrained, if you say so. We'll have to continue this meeting later then. The little Naruto was already standing on the desk. She'll be back in like 10 minutes, tops. Here the clone narrowed its gaze on Danzo. Unless you want to play a game with me to pass the time? That Danzo seemed to hurry along a bit faster after that, set the clone snickering and relaxing back. Maybe it could leave a little present for Bachan. Naruto was suddenly back in the meeting room, a slightly woozy Tsunade held up next to him while Jiraiya was dropped to the floor. And I'm back. While he felt like things went just fine and thus he was ignoring everything else, he certainly felt the fist that smashed into the back of his head. You brat. Some warning would be nice. Vein pulsing on her forehead, the elder Hokage could feel her blood pressure rising. Oh come on Bachan, live a little. I'll live longer if you quit trying to scare me half to death. Just give it up and come retire with me then. You'll love it here. Naruto was up and wiggling his eyebrows as Tsunade seemed to really consider it. See, you're thinking about it. Tsunade smacked him one more time as he led her to a seat next to Gaara. Shush brat, you can't tempt me. We get regular shipments of spring vodka now, and we have one island I can build a beach home on that has a natural hot spring. Oh do you? Please my good boy, tell me more. Hook, line, and sinker. Jiraiya was finally up. Tsunade-heim, please don't let him lead you astray. We still have so much work to do back home. Unless of course the old pervert was invited along, then he was all for it. Naruto, however, just pointed at the old pervert. He knew what would sway him. Uzushio's population is something like 70% female. Jiraiya faulted, is that so? Naruto was nodding while Tsunade rolled her eyes, and Ino and Hinata both shook their heads. And look, I'm working on an alliance with a real beauty as well. Naruto lazily pointed towards Mei, winking at her as the older woman smiled and waved at Jiraiya. Jiraiya instantly forgave anything and everything Naruto ever said or did to him. You know my boy, did I ever tell you that you were my favorite apprentice? You could stand to tell me more often. Jiraiya, however, was already sidling up next to Mei. Good afternoon, lovely. Why, who would have guessed such a rare bloom would find its way here to Uzushio? Tell me, what land and family do you hail from? Surely I would have heard of you by now. Laying it on thick, Jiraiya put on his best lady killer smile. Naruto, however, was back to the head of the table. That would be Mei Terumi. Naruto sat and waved to her guards, who were stuck between wanting to beat the tar out of Jiraiya and realizing a Sannin would make short work of them. You know, newest Mizukage to Kirigakure? Jiraiya slowly turned wide eyes to Naruto. Mizu? Mei nodded, voice sultry. Oh please do go on Jiraiya-sama. I'd love to hear more. This was simply delightful. Naruto knew how to have fun and make these normally stuffy proceedings easier to handle. I didn't mean to offend? Tsunade rolled her eyes. Will you get over here so we can get through this and back home? I'm sure the council is going to be in an uproar over this. Which she knew they would be, not that she cared. Something odd was going on with Danzo lately. He was being even more cagey than usual. Jiraiya nodded and slunk his way back to her side. Sure thing, Heim. Naruto chuckled and knocked on the table. So, we've laid out that Suna and Kiri will ally themselves with Yuzu. That's great, but I have my own personal interest as well that I want to bring up. Tsunade nods first. You want us to back Uzushio as you come out as both a major nation and you as its Kage. Right? Naruto nodded with a smile. Got it. No argument from me. It'll be good to see that stuffy Inoki sweat a bit. Naruto nods. He might be sweating already anyway. What did you do? Tsunade could already feel another headache coming on. Just beat the shit out of his granddaughter. Never mind, I don't want to know anymore. Tsunade had to resist the urge to bang her head on the table. It's a good story. Naruto looked to Jiraiya, full of adventure and hijinks. Ino smacked him, right. Another time. Gaara nodded as well. Suna will stand with Yuzu as well. Both as trade partners and friends. Gaara was still learning about what it meant to have friends, but Naruto was helping him along. He'd have to make sure Naruto visited again soon. They needed to have a friendly spar, something that didn't evolve into a death match. Mei didn't have any qualms with things as well. I have no arguments against this as well, though we may need help if Kumo comes sniffing. Naruto nods. I might owe them a beating or two anyway. So you let me know if they give you any trouble. Seeing Mei nod, Naruto clapped his hands together. Then I guess that's it. I'd say from here we can set up ambassador teams to travel back and forth to negotiate the specifics. Tsunade leans back and stretches, hands high over her head. We've already got things as settled as need be for now. We'll be sending a payment back with your next visit as well. Who are you sending? Naruto pointed towards Inoheim again. She's been catching up with her parents each visit. Seeing Tsunade nod but not say anything, Gaara chimes in. I know Temari prefers to make this trip, though for now the best route is through the Land of Fire. Perhaps after the airships demonstration we can have a more direct line of travel between us? Ah, yeah. I need to talk to Koyuki about that soon. We should be ready for our first test pretty quick. Naruto turned to see Tsunade's questioning look. Oh yeah, you weren't here for that. Spring-built airships, and now we're thinking about using them as both a overland transport to areas that we don't have trains as well as a more luxury transport system. Tsunade hummed at that, thinking it over. The daimyo would love that, I'm sure. Never mind every other well-funded noble across the nations. Mei could agree with that. It would also give another option for us as well. Shipping over the ocean is nice and all, but prone to pirates. Airships would negate that worry. Naruto frowned. Do you have a pirate problem? Not at the moment, but it has been a worry in the past. Mei looked back towards Ao, who shook his head. Well, like I said, we're going to be allies now, so whatever may be of concern to you, make sure to let me know. Naruto turned to look at everyone, then well, if we're all in agreement. I guess I should take Tsunade and Jiraiya back. Gaara however held up a hand as he turned to Tsunade. What does your council have to say about the mission scalping from the Land of Wind? Sighing and shaking her head, Tsunade could only hold up her hands in defeat. In good faith we always attempt to convince your daimyo to use your own village for missions, but well, you can guess what he's had to say about you. It's tapered off a bit, but I acknowledge that the amount of missions we receive from Wind is very high. Gaara sat and watched her for a minute, thinking and gauging her before nodding and sitting back. As long as some effort is made. Suna knows we have to improve and rebuild our image. It is not all Konoha's fault. Gaara gave her a rare grin. We won't be second to you forever. I like your spunk, kid. Your village should be proud. Mei was turning to Tsunade as well. I received your invitation to your next Chunin exams. Seeing Tsunade nod, Mei almost felt bad for declining. We'll have to wave off till next year. No offense, but we have some internal matters to deal with first. Tsunade could understand that. At least it wasn't a flat refusal without some type of reasoning. Well, I hope to see you next year then. I'm sure the brat is going to stop at nothing to help you out. I'm right here, you know. Mei giggled and nodded. He is very driven. Single-minded, I like to say. I can hear you. Tsunade waved him off as Mei smiled and looked to Gaara instead. While we are separated by a large distance, know that if we can help you at all, in any way, we will. Gaara bowed his head lightly. We appreciate the sentiment, Mizukage. Please, just Mei is fine. Then please address me as the same Mei. It's Gaara. Seeing that things were actually done, Naruto was quick to make a pair of clones that walked around to Tsunade and Jiraiya. I'll make sure to come and visit a bit when things calm down here. We have some business to finish up. Tsunade nodded as the clone held her shoulder firmly. You wouldn't happen to know anything about Danzo being jumpy, would you? Seeing his grin, the older woman sighed. I shouldn't ask obvious questions, huh? Naruto waved a hand, it'll be good for you. And then the pair were gone while Naruto was making to stand, Gaara and Mei doing the same. Welp, like I said before, enjoy the city as much as you'd like, and if you have any questions just come find me. Mei, however, was turning back to Ao and Chojuro. We have, perhaps, been here a bit longer than we thought. So we shall make our way back home. Here she turned and bowed to the young man, may the sea winds be in your favor, young Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto turned and bowed to her as well, may the fallen guide your path, Mei Terumi. Exchanging their own local saying with her, the older woman smiled as Hinata made a motion and a team from the Hataru clan opened the door leading out. Mei, Ao, and Chojuro bowed the everyone assembled before leaving with the Yuzu team. They had a lot to think about and even more to announce to their village. Left behind, Gaara turned to Naruto, who grinned and hooked a thumb towards the window. Have you had a chance to explore yet? Gaara shook his head, not yet, so I suppose we will take today to do so. We shall be on our own way out tomorrow. Naruto's grin softened into a real smile, no rest for us at the top huh? Gaara had walked over and extended a hand that Naruto accepted and grasped firmly. Shaking Naruto's hand before pulling away, Gaara smiled, good thing I have a lot of practice. Missing Temari shaking her head at his joke, a new team was waiting at the door for them. A rougher-looking group, Gaara and his siblings turned to leave, make sure to come and see us off. Naruto waved him off, we will. I gotta have a word with the Konoha group anyway. Or at least with Team 7. Who should be just outside waiting, having escorted the Suna group here. Naruto turned to Ino and Hinata, guess I should head to my own office and get some work done, huh? Ino was the first to grab hold of one of his hands and start dragging him along, oh don't start whining now. If you use your clones, you can make it quick and then we can go relax or something. Naruto started walking and fell into step with her, Hinata on his other side, who says I didn't do that already? Both girls turned to look at him quietly, if I have the technique, why wouldn't I use it? Hinata just sighed, we should have figured that. Ino nodded, but this means that it should be just a quick check-in and then we can head out. I'm sure Billboard Brow would love to see us. Naruto maybe, you can get lost Ino pig. Team 7 was waiting just outside of his office, Kotoheim chatting with Kakashi. Sakura was already turning to point accusingly at Ino, who herself was smirking at the pink-haired girl. No matter what, you can't steal my husband. I've got the better option anyway. Oh, I can guarantee, no you don't. Naruto and Sasuke leveled exasperated looks at each other as if to say, control your woman and you first to each other. It was Hinata to came to the rescue, smacking Ino as she walked by to open the door, can we not start a fight within the first 30 seconds of seeing each other? Naruto was the first to retreat into his office, waving off En and Niji who were watching over a board-looking clone next to a stack of finished paperwork. We have our system. Ino was still smirking at Sakura. Still waiting on that spar. Anytime tiny. Sakura was quick to cross her arms over her chest as they all filed inside, as if that matters at all. Naruto was rolling his eyes at the argument as he walked around his desk, anything crazy? The clone just shook his head, nope, though Koyuki is on her way. Train stopped in not long ago and one of the seal monitors sent us the warning. Naruto nodded as the clone dispersed, sending him its memories. Doesn't seem to be an emergency, maybe she's bringing an update about the airship project? Sitting down and waiting as everyone else either took a seat or stood somewhere, Kotoheim sat on one edge of his desk while Hinata stood directly next to him and Ino chatted away with Sakura. So, no chance I can convince you three to come to Yuzu for good? Sasuke shrugged, earning a look from Kakashi, if it wasn't for Kakashi-sensei, I seriously might. Sakura pointed a finger at him, we'd have to bring my parents. Sakura nodded at that, well, anyway. You convince Shizune to come and Kakashi will make the move too. Sighing at being ignored, Kakashi raised a hand, you all do know I'm right here right? Naruto and Sasuke looked at him before turning back to each other. Naruto grinning, I'll get to work on Shizune. Sasuke grinned, see that you do. I'm not domesticated like that. Waving a hand in front of her face, Sakura was ready to remove that idea from his head, you haven't touched your precious book ever since you've been with her. And you've been taking better care of yourself. Even socialize more. You're domestic. Naruto chuckled, might as well give it up Kakashi-sensei. I'll have you here in no time. Kakashi shrugged, if it happens it happens. Rather than continuing to think on how he would tempt his former team to his nation, Naruto turned to Kotoheim, so, what do you think about being an ambassador to Kiri? Kotoheim raised a delicate eyebrow, and get to visit the lovely Mizukage on the regular? That could be enjoyable. It would let her stretch her legs a bit, though she would have to be without Naruto for weeks at a time. She'd have to consider that. Naruto was suddenly having second thoughts about the deal, even if Kotoheim and Mei got along great. It's just to make sure things continue to go smoothly between our two nations. That's all. Not that she would listen. No. Kotoheim had her own objectives that usually involved making sure Naruto was almost constantly tired. Happy. But tired. Nodding and trailing a finger along the desk, Kotoheim was all smiles, of course. Not that she would listen. Oh no, that Mei woman would see things her way. Oh yes, she would. Turning to Hinata and doing his best not to shudder at the chill working down his spine, Naruto switched mental tracks. Did Karen or Tayuya have a chance to mark on a map where the other sound bases are? Yes, we can make for them at any time. Hinata had seen the eager looks on the other girls' faces and knew these next missions were going to be quick. They are determined to see this through. I bet. I'm thinking for the sound base located in Wind we should include Temari or Kankuro since it is their nation. So, maybe you and Karen with one of them. And then for the sound base located in Lightning, maybe Tayuya and the Yugo squad. They were all going to call Naruto in with their Horatian seals when they got close, so he could be his usual heavy hitter self and evacuate prisoners. Hinata had a finger to her chin as she thought about the arrangements. He was correct that Temari would most likely want to have a go at one of the sound bases within her own country. That is of course if Gaara wasn't stuck to his desk. I think that's a good plan. I'm assuming we'll be using the relocated aid station in Wave? Seeing Naruto nod, Hinata voices another question. What about Orochimaru's main base? Grin becoming something feral, Naruto started to chuckle. Oh, Jirobu is going to lead me right to him. So long as there aren't any prisoners there, that job will be quick. Sakura and Sasuke shuddered a bit. I thought we were free of that laugh. Sakura nodded. It's somehow even more creepy. Kakashi sighed. You're both so dramatic. Though he did level a bored eye towards Naruto, it is a little creepy. Bah. You're all no fun. Naruto felt a small shift of chakra from Miji and looked back to see his Byakugan active. Something up? Apologies, I didn't recognize Lady Koyuki at first. His eyes shifted from the door to Kotoheim and back quickly. She's here by the way. Along with my team escorting her. Naruto grinned. I doubt that was necessary, but thanks. Everyone's attention was to the door as it opened and a brightly smiling woman dressed in a blue and red kimono breezed her way inside. Koyuki. Naruto. She nearly leapt through the air to get to him faster, but she restrained herself. There were people besides family here after all. You've been busy so I decided to come visit instead. She was already coming around to his side of the desk to snuggle into his lap. Behind her, Kana and Jin take up positions on either side of the door, quietly nodding towards their team leader across the room. Slightly embarrassed, but rolling with it, Naruto rubbed the back of his head. Sorry. Maybe we should just move you here full time. Oh, that's just wonderful, but I have an update for you as well. Koyuki pulled a folder from her kimono. The Spring Engineers would like to send 4 airships from Spring to Uzushio next week. Your landing pads here have been completed, yes? Naruto nods. The one on the tower is a few days from being done while all of the pads at the fortress are complete. So they're free to send them. Laying her head on his shoulder, Koyuki giggles. That's great. Why don't you send a clone to tell them, it'll be faster. Naruto, however, is a little caught off guard. Not that I'm complaining, but aren't you being a little more affectionate than normal? Which he wasn't complaining. Besides a few scattered visits, they really hadn't seen each other much recently. It was part of way they had taken that last vacation. He knew they were all going to get busy. You know, I can't explain it, but I just really missed you is all. Koyuki hadn't thought about her behavior at all, because it just felt so natural. A lot of things had been off lately. Naruto just shrugged as he looked to Kotoheim. Guess we'll need to let Tazuna and Tsunami know so we don't cause a panic or anything. Also pass along the message to our own civilians. Will do. Kotoheim made the mental note to pass along the information to everyone relevant. Sasuke, however, sat up a bit and leaned forward. So, since we're here, how about a spar? That had Naruto's attention. Oh, the chance to pound you into the dirt? Why would I pass that up? We're a lot stronger now, Naruto. Sakura was flexing her fists at him. to which his grin began to widen. Tsunade's taught me some tricks. Oh ho, I get to add Sannin apprentices to my list of people I've smacked around. Yes. Naruto looked up to Kakashi, you getting in on this? Might as well. I would be good to see your progress. Plus he needed the workout, maybe some practice with his eye would show some results. Naruto looked up to Kotohime, think the north side training ground is free? Kotohime rolled her eyes. Naruto was a big fan of regularly tearing apart the landscape. He did so on such a regular basis that they had pretty much designated the north side as his own personal training ground. No one questioned it either. He was the only one who seemed to think others were suicidal enough to use it when he wasn't there. It's free. Naruto hooped and turned to his old team, then you're on. Then afterwards we can get some ramen like old times. I wondered where Ayam had gone. Sakura spoke up as Sasuke was already playing with his sword a bit in anticipation. I shouldn't be surprised. If anything, be surprised I didn't convince Tsuchi to leave too. I don't mess around with my ramen. Naruto nodded sagely before looking out over his shoulder. We might as well get a move on if we want to do this. In his lap Koyuki took some coaxing, but she did eventually stand and move next to Kotohime, who herself was a bit sluggish to get up from the desk as well. Naruto noticed this, as did everyone else. You okay, Kotohime? Fine, just been feeling off lately is all. Might have caught a bug. Which would be odd. She was usually so careful about such things. Niji however seemed to know something, blushing as he stepped forward. You should probably go and see Lady Karen soon. You as well, Lady Koyuki. Both girls raised eyebrows at that, though it was Kotohime who spoke up first. And why is that? She missed Hinata and Kana both activating their own eyes for a moment, before Hinata squealed. What? Kotohime had all of a second before she was nearly tackled by the shorter woman. What? Hinata could only grin. Let the boys go beat each other into the dirt, we have something to go do. Ino. Grab Koyuki. Ino knew that tone of voice. That was the, I know something important voice. Nodding, she was up and dragging Koyuki behind Kotohime and Hinata, on it. Kotohime however, was now really confused. Why are we going to Karen now? Surely she's busy, and it isn't that important. Hinata was shaking her head. This is very important, you'll see. Come on. Ino nodded. You heard her. She's gotta have a good reason. They were all making their way through the doorway, and soon out of sight. Leaving behind a mostly confused group, the two Hataru members seemed to know something. Which was bugging Naruto, as he turned to Niji. Wanna clue me in? It's not my business, Lord Naruto. But it has to do with Kotohime's health, right? She'll be fine, Lord Naruto. Trust Hinata-sama. Naruto grumbled. I feel like I'm missing something important here. Sakura thought about it for a minute as she looked to Niji, and then back to the other former Hyuga woman. They both had activated their eyes along with Hinata before said girl started to freak out. What could their eyes have seen that would have had the smaller girl so happy looking? The older women were talking about feeling off, sluggish, something to do with chakra networks if the Byakugan could detect it. The light bulb went off in her head like a supernova. You boys, beat the shit out of each other without me. Wait up, Hinata. And then she was gone, running down the hallway after the retreating group. Naruto turned to Sasuke slowly. Did we just get ditched? Sasuke nodded as he looked at the doorway his girlfriend had just disappeared through. Yes. And somehow I just know this is your fault. Not everything weird that happens is my fault. It's pretty close though. Naruto considered that, because a lot of weird or crazy things did happen around him on a regular basis. You know what, I blame my dad for making me a Jinchuriki. That seemed reasonable. I like to blame your father all the time as well. Really eases the heart. Somehow I don't think we do it for the same reason. In the end, it's still his fault. True. Standing and stretching as if he hadn't just been goofing off, Naruto pointed to the door. Well then, let's get a move on and see who's improved the most. Maybe we can call up the rest of the Konoha group. Bet they'd get a kick out of Uzushio proper. Naruto didn't mind bring the rest in now. Sai had been the one to worry about, and that one was now below the tower, knocked out in a cell. The rest could be trusted. Besides, once Danzo was dead, Konoha could be an ally for real. Omake Kuratsuchi was not normally one to let a failure get in the way of her ambitions. Failure was just some new way for her to learn, grow, and improve after all. However, this failure was a bit different. Not only had she had her ass handed to her in a handbasket by the little blonde twerp, but she had been beaten so badly that she and Suzumabachi had to first be healed by the Land of Hot Water's ninja before they could be sent, under escort at that, back to Iwa. Humiliated and pissed, she was now standing before her grandfather, who looked angry enough to chew rocks. Next to her, Suzumabachi looked just as chastised as she felt, though at least on her end there was less fault. Suzumabachi only did as she was ordered after all. Who was she to go against the will of its Suchikage granddaughter? No, Suzumabachi would enjoy this while she could before fading back into obscurity. After getting obliterated by the maelstrom, she would be happy to never get near his like again. Inoki finally slapped a hand onto his desk, rattling the stone construction. What did I say? Observe, do not engage. And what did you do? You're lucky he didn't kill you, girl. I could have taken him. He just didn't fight fair is all. We're ninja. We never fight fair. Inoki was standing in his chair now, the older man pointing at his granddaughter. House arrest, for a month. Then we will talk about our next steps. What? Come on, Grandpa, I really mean it, I can take this guy. She had an idea of how to do it as well. She'd just need to get him away from all of his women first, and not be in a country with crazy silent ninja. No, you cannot. I'm going to have to do a lot just to not lose face in front of the other Kage for this. No. You'll do nothing and like it. Inoki twisted and pointed for the door. Get out of my sight and go home. I'll deal with you later. That's unreasonable. You're unreasonable, you brat. You sent me because you knew I would pick a fight. How can you get mad for me doing what you secretly wanted? Because I would have thought you could get the job done. Now, do as I say. Blood pressure rising, the elder finally twisted in his chair the wrong way. His back shuddered in pain, and Inoki hit the floor with a thud. Kuratsuchi was there in an instant. Grandpa. Suzumabachi just sighed and wished she could be anywhere else. How was this their leader and future leader? They were like ticking time bombs. She needed a vacation away from them, now. Chapter 48. The explosion training ground of Uzushio was also informally named Naruto's training ground for the simple fact that it was he himself that used it the most. That usually meant something was getting obliterated in a new and most likely world-breaking way. Nestled on the northern coast, it sported rocky wave-eroded terrain that gave way to a sandy beach a little to the west, while to the south and east was the forest that ringed the entire island. Today found Naruto, Sasuke, and Kakashi center stage, while Neji and his team all stood off to the side in attendance. Naruto was bouncing in place on the balls of his feet, while Sasuke was unsheathing his sword and Kakashi actually looked a bit focused. Naruto was all grins though, so, do we want to put anything on this one? Say, losers have to buy the winner ramen? Sasuke smirked and leveled his Chikuto towards the blonde. You're a little too confident, don't you think? Still bouncing from foot to foot, Naruto shook his head. Only one way for you to find out, huh? Within yelling distance, but also far enough away to not get caught in explosions, Neji raised his hand. I'll call it then. This is a friendly spar. Keep it that way. I promise not to blow you to bits. Sakura would probably be pretty mad at me if I did. Naruto was still bouncing. Sasuke lowered himself a tad, ready to dash forward. I'll make sure not to slice off anything important. Don't want your little harem to come for me. His eyes shifted into the Sharingan with little effort. Kakashi decided to raise his headband and release his Sharingan. I guess I should take this seriously as well then. Neji could see all three of the men were ready and dropped his hand. Begin. All of the Yuzu ninja jumped away to hide among the trees. I just know they're going to go too far. Kana nudged him in the side. It's exciting though, isn't it? We haven't seen Lord Naruto fight all out before. En shrugged, doubt he'll go all out here either. Instead of falling into their expectations, Naruto did not dash forward, instead unsealing his sword to have an exchange with Sasuke one-on-one while Kakashi began to circle around. You've been practicing, huh? Naruto came down with a hard overhead slash that Sasuke barely deflected and attempted to counter with a quick thrust. Naruto ducked under it, driving the hilt of Kubikuribocho into his gut to send him away. Wanna clue me into your teacher? Was it Kakashi-sensei? Sasuke grunted and started working on channeling his own lightning chakra through his blade. Yugo actually. Apparently she saw me working through the basics and claimed I was, her words, a terrible excuse of a swordsman that needed proper training. So between her and Kakashi, I think I have you beat. Jumping away to gain some space, and satisfied as Naruto's sword missed him and slammed into the ground, Sasuke launched his newest technique. Chidori Nagashi. An arc of lightning raced towards the blonde, who was already spinning and pulling his blade free of the ground. Now that's pretty cool. Wind building along his blade, he released a great breakthrough to break off Sasuke's attack. Definitely flashy. Dashing forward now and sharpening his blade's edge with wind, Naruto went on the attack. Grunting and beginning to sweat at having to dodge and deflect rapid attacks, Sasuke gave ground as Kakashi finally made it to Naruto's back. I should have remembered your wind affinity. Shoulda, but didn't. Creating two clones who drove off Kakashi with gale palms, Naruto smirked, nice try. Kakashi, however, was saluting them as he flipped through air. I'd like to think so. Eyeing the explosive notes on the ground, the clones frowned as the original jumped away. Well shit. The explosion rocked the training ground, while Naruto cleared the smoke with a swing of Kubikiri. You think that's an explosive? I'll show you explosives. Creating a team of a dozen clones, they split in half and went after Kakashi while the other half set upon Sasuke at once. All were armed with dual kunai, still unable to copy the Kubikiri. Sasuke frowned and attempted to hack and slash his way through the melee. You just had to provoke him, didn't you? Kakashi chuckled as he tossed a kunai into one clone while another nearly caught him. A judo toss into a separate clone relieved it of that belief. I'm just getting into the spirit of things. Naruto himself, however, was working with his chakra, gently coaxing it through his eye and body. God, this is slow. Gently now. You can't force it, go slow. You have no idea how perverted that sounds. Shut up, brat. There, that's about as far as you can go, I think. Naruto subconsciously nods and eyes both of his friends, Purple Eye now sporting a second ring. Let's go nuts. Performing a shunshin, he was suddenly in front of Kakashi with his sword mid-swing. Hey, sensei. Slightly caught off guard, the elder ninja took advantage of the Sharingan as he dodged the swing. He however missed one of the clones sneaking into his blind spot, seals glowing. Did we mention we've gotten faster? Light and fire followed and a smoking Kakashi was flipping through the air. It took him a moment to regain control, landing on his feet and immediately setting to dodging and deflecting clone strikes with dual kunai. He was more than a little worried that the usual advantages of the Sharingan weren't helping. Seems you've started to figure out what that eye is about. Which would be a whole new can of worms. Wanna give us some tips? From the smoke of the explosion, Naruto had his hand in the air, a Rasengan floating there angrily spinning above his palm. Sure. A manic grin spread on his face. Don't die. Tossing the technique towards his former teacher's feet, he was rewarded with another explosion as the Rasengan dug a trench through the rocky terrain before destabilizing and detonating, sending even more rocky shrapnel in every direction. Sasuke half appreciated it because it cleared his space of clones, but he still had to save himself from the deadly shards of rock. Kakashi coming to a halt next to him, the two-leaf nin watched Naruto warily. Should we be worried that he hasn't really used anything new yet? Kakashi shrugged, maybe. Should we step it up a bit? Yeah. Naruto was bouncing on his feet again. You ladies gonna keep yakkin or are we gonna fight? Maybe I should call Lee here to make things interesting. He almost missed the flare of chakra wafted off from both of them. It took all of his strength to pull Kubikiri in front of him to block the straight kick from Sasuke. Well, you got fast. Were those my gravity seals? Weight seals, courtesy of Gai-sensei. Sasuke dashed away again as Kakashi came in, chucking kunai and forcing Naruto to block. Kakashi slid under his guard then and launched a kick into the blonde's midsection, sending him away. I wouldn't be much of a teacher if I let you surpass me so quickly. Grunting but letting Kakashi toss him away, he released his own gravity seals and created a new batch of clones. Oh, you're in for it now. Instead of dashing in, he instead sealed away the Kubikiri. He wasn't looking to kill his friends after all. Summoning dual Rasengan into his hands, he considered that batting them around with explosions was fair game. Launching one and then the other towards Sasuke, who had no problem dodging the first, but the second hiding at the first shadow just barely caught him in the thigh. A quick substitution with a clone saved his leg, though the explosion did send him flying. Making a quick 4 seals, Sasuke welled up his chakra and sighed, Kuchios no Jutsu. Smoke billowed out from where he had been flying through the air, but when the smoke cleared, he was gone. Naruto noticed this and tracked Sasuke's chakra signature instead with his eye. Oh ho. That is an interesting summon. He didn't expect an answer from his friend, though he did idly watch as Kakashi was starting to tire. Heavy Sharingan use still taxed him, it seemed. Dashing forward even faster than before, Naruto was crouching before the surprised Jonin. Gotcha. Kakashi grinned before being replaced by another Naruto clone who thankfully had the presence of mind to jump over the attacking original. Looking around quickly, Naruto spotted the man near the coast, just finishing up an array of seals. Suiton, Suryuden no Jutsu. A great dragon built from the sea water behind him rose up, before locking eyes on Naruto. Well shit. Naruto thought about his options before banking on his newest ability and held up his left hand, creating a barrier that was just barely visible. Bracing himself as the dragon of water roared at him and charged, he was pushed back minutely as the water dragon impacted with his barrier. Pulling the chakra away from it, Naruto grinned as it quickly was reduced back to just harmless water. Woo, didn't think that would work. Kakashi just sighed, that's not fair at all. Don't be a sore loser, Kakashi-sensei. Naruto had to quickly jump away as Sasuke and his chameleon dropped down on his previous position. Hey now, I was busy. Opening its mouth and returning to a more visible form, the chameleon summon released Sasuke, who was frowning. I wanna be pissed off that you could see us. Naruto completed his own seals and summoned one of the toads he had made a connection with. Oh, don't worry, I'm about to give you a real reason to be pissed off. Gamma-K's. Jump. Yes sir. And they did, jumping high over the training ground and leaving the Leaf Nin to wonder at what was coming next. We should be worried, huh? Sasuke thanked his summon and let it return to its realm, while Kakashi came up next to him. Absolutely. Above them, Naruto had a new Rasengan in hand, roughly the size of a beach ball. I need some oil, Gamma-K's. Shoot it towards the ground and then dispel, you don't want to be caught in this. Yes sir. Shooting the requested stream of oil, Gamma-K's followed his orders and dispelled to return home. Left behind, Naruto finished the Rasengan and threw it down towards the ground at full speed and coincidentally through the stream of oil. Absorbing the oil while he still had some control of it, this did a few things all at once. All of the flammable oil was suddenly pulled in and tightly packed together at the center of the spiraling ball of death under extreme pressures. This superheated the oil into a state that under normal circumstances would have exploded, if not for the immense pressures pushing everything back inwards. That would change the second the ball hit the ground. We should run, huh? Already am. Neither of the Leaf Nin were going to wait for the brightly glowing ball to hit the ground and decided sprinting to where the Yuzu Nin were watching would probably be safest. Behind them, the Rasengan plowed into the earth like a meteor, before destabilizing and exploding like a supernova. The ground heaved upwards in a wide dozen-meter circle before rock and sand were tossed in all directions by an explosion that rocked the area. Tossed like rag dolls by the shock wave, they eventually came to rest at Niji's feet, while a madly cackling Naruto stood nearby with his hands on his hips. Behind him, rock and sand fell like rain as a deep crater settled and smoked. So. Who's overconfident, huh? Naruto pointed a finger at Kakashi, and let this be a lesson. Never explosions against me. Devolving back into mad cackling, he missed Sasuke and Kakashi, groaning and rolling onto their backs. Oh, I'm just getting into the spirit of things, huh? This is the monster you created. He's even worse now. Sasuke was sore and knew he had more than a few bruises. Naruto's clones were definitely hitting harder. I may have underestimated him a bit. Kakashi panted and pulled down his headband to cover his eye. He had been sure that with all the work as a Kage, Naruto should have slowed down a bit. Teach him to make assumptions. I could have taken him if I had used my Kamui. Naruto was walking towards them, hands still on his hips. What was that about a Kamui? Kakashi points at his gifted eye, Sharingan technique. Lets me suck things in and take them out of a dimensional space. Takes a lot of chakra to use though. Naruto was at his side in an instant. Wait. Tell me more. Is that a space/time jutsu? Can you suck something in from one place and then take it back out in another place far away? Yes? Kakashi was worried that his student was suddenly so interested. Can you do it to living things? Yes, though I haven't done it yet. Naruto had his left hand in his own and was shaking it quickly. Tell me everything. How it works, what's the chakra usage, are there hand seals involved? Can I put a seal array on you when you use it? Sasuke just shook his head. You've just completed some hair-brained idea he's had in his head for who knows how long. Whoops. Within a few steps of them, Niji sighed and looked over the training ground. We'll be fixing this up again, I see. Anyone want to go and get Lady Karen or Lady Ino? Kana shook her head. And miss something else crazy happening? Not on your life. Lord Naruto just fought toe-to-toe with Sharingan Kakashi. It was amazing. Naruto already had a book and a pen out, scratching away as his teacher talked. This was perfect. His own little project might actually see the light of day after all. Kakashi just confirmed the existence of another dimension. That was all he needed. Scene change. Tsunami was having a wonderful day so far. Karen had sent her good news via one of her messenger golem, and now she was escorting the rest of the Konoha group over to Uzushio proper. While several of the younger members were delighting in riding on the train, it was of course the older ninja who were asking her questions. She was fielding them as best as she could, but her mind was a little preoccupied at the moment. As they were exiting the Uzushio train station and coming out to see the city for the first time, Asuma was turning to her expectantly. This is what Wave has been up to this whole time? This is a pretty big secret to keep to yourselves. How did you manage it? Tsunami waves a hand as the others join in following her down the steps to a waiting trolley car. It was actually our leader who did a good portion of the work. Plus the civilians were united in our mission. Asuma still was amazed. Wave had really outdone themselves, it seemed, and rebounding back even stronger than before if the stories his father had told him about the village were to be believed. Still, this must have been going on for years. How could they let the other island of Wave get so bad in the meantime? They must have hyper-focused on themselves. Asuma made the jump in logic as they boarded the trolley and set off down the tracks behind another car on the same line. Guy had his arms crossed as he looked out over the scenery and the people, truly a lively and spirited bunch. Their youthful flames must have helped motivate them for sure. Tsunami shook her head. Reconstruction to this point was actually a little less than a year. Uzushio did not abandon Wave by choice, it was actually our benefactor that saved us in the first place. It was Shikamaru who caught the name of the current island first. Uzushio? Wasn't that the place Naruto was running? Who did you say was your leader again? Uzushio Gakure was the birthplace of the Uzumaki, so where else would the remnants of the clan return to in order to start over? A previously abandoned island that they could rebuild in secret and build up defensive measures was an obviously good choice. But why go public now? Had they finally garnered all of the political support they needed? Tsunami could only smile. I didn't say, did I? Watching his student from the corner of his eyes work through the problem, Asuma just grinned and relaxed back finally. So this is Uzushio Gakure, where Naruto settled down? Good to know we finally get to visit, though it's weird we only get to visit now. Behind him, he listened as the others started to get somewhat excited. They knew Naruto had been in charge of a city somewhere, but he had always been careful not to mention where exactly it was. Tsunami acknowledged that with a nod. Well, things have changed recently. One of your numbers, I believe his name was Sai? He attempted to set off a bomb within the main tower. There is now an incident report and a hearing that must be held later. Asuma and Guy frowned at that, while the various students behind them had mixed reactions to the news. Both older Jonin had their own thoughts about the mystery genin. Both had figured the boy wasn't all he said he was, while Asuma had spent a few times talking with Kakashi and had agreed that Danzo most likely had too tight of a control over the boy. Idly watching as a pair of samurai walked along the road and practically towered over the normal civilians, Asuma sighed heavily. If there's any damage, I'm sure Konoha will of course take full responsibility. Tsunami shook her head as they entered the city center, hopping off of the moving car with ease and practice, and assumed the ninja would do the same. That won't be necessary. Uzushio has defenses specifically for such occasions. Tsunami led the way towards the entrance, past the memorial that she took a moment to turn to and offer a prayer, before reaching the entrance doors. Bowing her head lightly to a man holding the large glass entrance door open for her, she made her way inside. Thank you. Of course, Lady Tsunami. Returning her acknowledgement, the ninja proudly displaying a Yuzu headband continued on his way outside, intentionally snubbing the Konoha ninja who had all walked by the memorial. Kiba picked up on that right away. Seems a little rude, yeah? Behind him, Shino held the door for Tenten, Choji, and Shikamaru as they all entered the large space. Tsunami answered him without looking back. You have to understand, everyone in Uzushio remembers not only why the original village fell, but also how Konoha treated the Uzumaki remnants. A suddenly cold eye turned back towards them. You'll find that with a few exceptions, Konoha will not find many friends here. Guy gave her a thumbs up however, while flashing her a bright smile. then we must endeavor to prove that the Konoha of now means nothing but peace towards the new Uzushio. We will work to clean up the sins of the past. Appreciating his words as they reached the elevators and entered one, Tsunami turned to hold the doors so everyone could enter. A wonderful sentiment, we'll see how that goes in practice. We did just have one of you attempt to level the city after all. Everyone filing in as she pressed a button for the 5th floor, Tenten spoke up as she had been watching the older woman quietly. Everyone seems to show you a great deal of respect. Is it Naruto who runs this place, or you? Never mind that she couldn't feel ninja-level chakra from the woman, that could only mean that she was suppressing it. Which that was something only someone of Kage level could accomplish. Tsunami's chuckle made her hopeful that she was on the correct track. No, Ninja-san. I'm not the leader. Though I am technically the mayor of Wave. No. Naruto leads Uzushio Bikure and does an amazing job of doing so. The elevator stopping with a ding, they filed out behind her as they came out to a busy-looking office space. Though there were many more ninja present along with secretaries and office workers. It had all of the hallmarks of a ninja mission office. Please follow me this way. Heading towards Naruto's office, Tsunami couldn't help but smirk as she wondered how they all would take the news. Tenten had a hand to her chin as she thought about it. I guess it would be too much to ask for another crazy strong woman to be a village's Kage. Tsunade-sama is great herself, but still. Shikamaru chuckled and patted her on the shoulder. You might be closer than you think. She moves too quietly to be a civilian. And Naruto is such a knucklehead. Though there was always the chance that leadership had changed the other teen in ways they hadn't seen yet. Sure, he had once told Shikamaru that he was only good for blowing things up, but the shadow user wasn't so sure of that anymore. Opening the door and peeking her head in, she eventually opened it the rest of the way with a smile. He's here and can see you now. Watching everyone walk in and offer greetings, Tsunami tittered as she went about her way. She had to make her way to her father now. She was sure he would love the new news. Inside the office, it was Kiba who was pointing a finger at the other teen behind the large desk. What the hell, Naruto? You've been here all this time? Why'd you leave us over in Wave? And what the fuck, why's Niji here? Behind him, En and Niji were grinning as Naruto leaned back in his chair as Kakashi and Sasuke sat in the chairs in front of his desk. Both looked a little worn out and grungy. Yo everyone. Asuma couldn't help but sigh, because of course the little blonde was behind the Hyuga exodus. Should have known. Shikamaru nodded, we really should have. His eyes trailed to Niji himself. How's life been for the Hyuga here? Niji shrugged, I don't know what you mean. There are no Hyuga here. Grinning, he pointed to his new headband. The Hataru have been enjoying their freedom however. Rolling his eyes as everyone spread out, Asuma looked to Naruto. We heard from Lady Tsunami. Sai tried to blow this place apart? Sighing and nodding, Naruto placed his hands on his desk. Yeah, but we subdued him no problem. So sorry, but he ain't going back with you. Kakashi waved it away before anyone else could answer. This is something that normally could cause a breakdown of treaties. If the worst we have to deal with is the offending ninja being imprisoned, then we got off easy. Agreeing with the other Jonin, Asuma nods along, yeah. Plus I don't think anyone will really miss the kid except Danzo. A grin spread on Naruto's face that sent a shudder down Sasuke's spine. Oh, don't worry about that old bastard. I have something for him. But the reason I called all of you here. Naruto rooted through his desk for a scroll, before pulling it out and tossing it to Kakashi. Uzushio Bikure is going public from here on, and there might be a meeting between all of the major nations because of it. Konoha and Uzushio are tentative allies at the moment, so from now on you all have a pass to enter the city. But as I'm sure you've run into, not everyone here likes you very much. Naruto relaxed back and shrugged, I can't do much about that, you'll have to fix that on your own. Kiba crossed his arms while Akamaru poked out from his jacket finally and spoke up, you could just tell them that we're the good guys. You're their Kage, aren't you? Naruto leveled bored eyes at the feral boy. Ah yes, let me just subvert my people's free will and tell them flatly to accept people from the village that helped end Uzushio previously. That's a wonderful idea. Seeing most of the ninja present flinch, Naruto again sighed and waved a hand as if to dispel the gloomy atmosphere. You guys are good people, I'm sure you can win them over on your own if you want. Giving him a thumbs up and repeating his sentiments from earlier, Guy was grinning at the blonde. We shall endeavor to change your people's preconceptions of us by displaying our normal youthful natures. Moved by the display, Lee mirrored his sensei, that we shall. And if not, I shall run laps around your city from sun up to sundown while apologizing for Konoha's misdeeds. Guy was inspired by his pupil. That is a wonderful idea, Lee. Why, if you should fail, I will do the same, for 3 days straight. Truly inspirational, Guy-sensei. Lee. Guy-sensei. Both master and pupil came together in a manly hug, a roaring sunset over waves breaking on a coastal shore, beaming into existence. Niji could only sigh and hang his head while Tenten banged her head against a wall, while Choji and Shikamaru tried their best to stop her. Naruto was set to twitching while En did his best to repeatedly dispel the obvious genjutsu. This isn't right. Lord Naruto. This genjutsu is unbreakable. What is this? It's something only available to Bushibrows and Bushibrows sensei. Call it a S-rank genjutsu and try not to think too hard on it. Naruto leaned over, however, as his door opened again and several women filed into the room, all beaming with smiles, or in Kotohime and Koyuki's case, seemed rather nervous. Hey girls, where did you all run off to in such a hurry? Even Karen and Tayuya had come back. Sakura came skipping to sit in Sasuke's lap, breaking up the manly hug going on and adopting a know-it-all smirk. Oh, this'll be good. Kotohime and Koyuki came around to stand together on his left side, while Hinata and Ino came together on his right. Karen and Tayuya stood just a bit behind Kotohime and Koyuki while they both directed smirks at him. It was only as they were all together that all of the gathered Leaf Ninja noticed that they all had in one way or another adopted one or more of Naruto's usual colors. Naruto, however, was focused on how nervous the two older girls were. Hey, what's up? Everything okay? From humor to concern within an instant, he missed the giggling coming from behind him. Kotohime started first, idly playing with a fringe of hair. So, do you remember, the beach? Naruto nodded slowly. How could he forget that one? The moonlight and the ocean waves had been good that night. Koyuki continued on, were all of our various, moments? Naruto again nodded slowly, a blush now on his face. Koyuki was certainly one for cuddles afterwards. Kotohime and Koyuki linked hands, and each firmly reassured the other. It seems our efforts have borne fruit, Lord Uzumaki. Kotohime was smiling and trying not to tear up. Koyuki had no such problem, shedding tears with a bright smile. Or maybe we should start calling you Papa. Naruto's eyes went wide as around him the Leaf Ninja all gasped or made noises of surprise. Was this real? Were both of these women, was he going to be? Your. Karen leaned around both girls, pregnant, yup. Good job, Papa. Naruto was standing before them in a moment, hugging them both tightly. I can't believe it. We're gonna be parents. Holy shit. Naruto backed away half a step while holding both girls' hands. We're going to be parents. Kotohime nodded, yes. And we're going to stick together, like we all promised. Koyuki leaned against her friend while Naruto watched them both with a slowly blooming smile. This is just the beginning after all. Naruto didn't know what to do. He wanted to scream, shout, spread the news. He wanted to run and hide and panic. He was going to be a father? He didn't know the first thing about being a father. But by the kami, he would figure it out, just like he did everything else. Just a minute. I have to spaz out for a second. But I love you. Kami, I love you so much. And just like that he was gone, Hinata and Ino giggling as Koyuki and Kotohime both sagged with relief and decided to sit together in his wide chair. That went better than expected, I think. Karen had been betting on Naruto freezing up or passing out in shock. Hinata shook her head. I keep telling you that Naruto is full of surprises. From outside they could hear a shout, Naruto's voice amplified in some way. I'm going to be a dad. Ino giggled. I think he's more than a little excited. Sakura nodded. You think? Mentally, she was making plans of her own. She had promised to help Sasuke rebuild his clan after all, but hopefully he wasn't in a hurry like Naruto seemed to be. She wanted to enjoy being a ninja and building up her reputation a bit first. Kakashi just sighed. Any chance this calms him down somewhat? He remembered Minato-sensei when Kushina was pregnant. Those had been interesting times. Tayuya was grinning as she sat on a corner of the desk. Fat chance of that. If anything, he's going to be even more protective. The gray-haired Jonin mentally agreed, just like Minato-sensei. Asuma, however, just looked around the office for a moment. Well, now that we've heard the big news, I guess we can head back to Wave and wait for Kazekage-sama to return. We should be leaving tomorrow after all. Ino shook her head, maybe. Gaara might try to stay for a demonstration within a week. From outside, the ground shook and a giant toad appeared from a cloud of smoke. Naruto. Why did you summon me? I'm gonna be a dad Gamabunta. A dad. That's great news, my boy. This calls for sake and a celebration. On it, boss. I'm freaking out. Ahahaha, as you should, my boy. Hinata could only sigh and idly watched the pair from the window. Well, we've probably lost him for a little while. She could already hear a clamor coming up from the citizens as well. This was most likely going to turn into a night-long party at this rate. Well, this frees us up for planning at the least. Choji raised an eyebrow. Planning? Ino nodded and shooed the leaf group away. This is girl time, so you boys might as well scram, go find something to do in the city, and don't cause any trouble. Asuma sighed. Was that really all you called us here? Tayuya nodded, unless you want to talk about that Sai asshole and what horrible unspeakable things we're going to do to him. Asuma shook his head as the group started to file out, though Tenten, Sasuke, and surprisingly Shikamaru all decided to stay behind. I think we'll explore the city a bit. From outside, more yelling, you'll be fine boy, stop shaking on my head. I'm gonna be a fucking dad. Wait, I gotta do something. Just behind his desk chair, Naruto returned with a bright smile and holding out his left arm, seals glowing. Girls, if you would do the honors? Rolling her eyes heavily, but smiling all the same, Kotohime chose 2 of the remaining 4 seals. You're so dramatic. Koyuki did the same, picking the last 2 seals and watching all of the remaining seals fade away. I think it's endearing. Naruto leaned down and kissed both women on their heads from over the back of the chair. Now, I need to go back to freaking out. I'll be back to pamper you and cater to your every whim in a bit. And then he was gone, leaving most of the girls giggling while Tayuya crossed her arms. Now I'm curious if he'll act like this for all of us or not. Hinata nodded, you know he will. Outside, more shouting, I should go get Jiraiya and Tsunade. Make him bring some good sake boy. Will do. Sakura was making sure Sasuke could not run away. I'm sure that'll be fine, right? Karen was smirking, they won't want to be in Konoha for long anyway. Things are about to get weird there. Kakashi sighed, I'm going to pretend I didn't hear that. You're gonna want to pretend you didn't hear a lot of things pretty soon. Kakashi was suddenly up joining the leaf group as they were leaving. Yup, I'm gone. I'll go join Naruto, I think. Sasuke frowned from under his girlfriend, I'd like to do the same. Sakura nodded and finally let him up, fine, go get drunk with your brother. Both of the other males from Team 7 were gone, leaving the collection of girls alone as Sasuke dragged Shikamaru outside. This was girl time. Behind them all at the window, Niji and En did their best to blend into the background and continue their guard duty. Absolutely nothing would be entering this office today. Scene change, far away, Danzo was truly beginning to feel his age as a bead of sweat worked its way down his cheek and neck. The afternoon was working down into the evening and for most of the day he had been on edge. It wasn't something specific, just a general feeling of unease which, if history served well, meant that the Uzumaki boy was plotting something. All afternoon, he felt like he was being followed. Childish giggling just at the edge of his hearing, while things around him just didn't seem correct. A plant moved when he wasn't looking. His chair just out of place when he returned to it, or paperwork just slightly different and shuffled not like he had left it. So he had been keeping to public places, staying with other council members during the day or lower functionaries within the tower. But now, as he walked home, he realized that those options were long gone. He was safe until he got home, but there? No. His paranoia was just getting the better of him. Yes, that boy was up to something, but he was more prepared now and on the lookout for his tricks. No. He would not be surprised tonight. Stepping through his entry gate and walking through the front door to his empty home, Danzo knew right away something was wrong. Yes, the home was quiet as it had always been and he couldn't feel anything out of place. But at the same time, things were darker than normal, quieter in an unnatural way. He couldn't quite place it. Like a memory just out of reach that slipped away the harder he tried to remember. Walking further inside and towards his study, maybe some of that imported Lightning Country whiskey would help him relax. Down the hall, a shadow moved. Who's there? Instantly on guard, arm unsealed and stolen Sharingan blazing in his skull, Danzo frowned as just like his senses told him, there was no chakra in his home besides his own. Maybe it was the paranoia and old age finally catching up with him. Taking a cautious step forward, he sighed at the large seal array that blossomed into life under his foot. Nope, paranoia was completely justified. Locked in place by some unseen force, Danzo could only watch as a half-dozen mini Narutos crawled along the walls and ceiling from an ever-darkening hallway. A woman's voice called to him. Oh Danzo baby, a full-sized Naruto clone walked out from that darkness, fully in girl mode wearing a deep scarlet yukata with her hair flying free down her back. You've been a naughty boy. And Naruto is here to make sure you learn your lesson, Danzo grunted as he tried to free himself. You're insane. I've done nothing to you. The now dubbed Naruto only shook her head, walking around Danzo and trailing a hand over his shoulder. Oh, so I don't have you to thank for that boy Sai trying to blow up my home? Coming around from his back, Danzo was met with wide blue and purple glowing eyes and a grin full of razor-sharp teeth. You tried to use my own bomb against me. And that just isn't done. No, not flashy at all. Her voice had secondary tones to it, like someone else was talking with her. Not flashy. Not flashy. Boo. Copycat. Boo. The mini Naruto clones all parroted her words around them, setting Danzo's mind screeching as it all just seemed wrong in some way. Was this not Naruto, and instead the Kyuubi? Had that foul demon finally broken free somehow? Naruto, however, pointed a dainty yet very strong finger at his chest, a sharp nail drawing blood, but don't you worry. You and I? She bent down a bit, offering a view full of deep valleys and sharp eyes that watched him through her bangs. We're going to make sure you learn just how to be properly explosive from now on. Training. 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 You won't get away with this. Danzo was noticing it was taking more effort to speak, every breath was hard-fought. He did his best to ignore the cherubic voices, giggling and laughing at him from all over his house. Were there suddenly more of the small terrors? The roots of Konoha are strong. We will not be cowed by some upstart child. Naruto, however, backed away half a step, shark-like smile never leaving her face. My, you don't understand your place now, do you? Both of her eyes bled slowly into a deep blood red, slit like a cat's. I already have the dark chuckle that left her lips echoed through the house, though no one outside would hear it. Nor would they hear the screams that started soon after. Naruto had one last thing to say to the old man as he lost another life, but not the last of the night. I'm going to learn every dirty secret you've been hiding away. 1. By 1. So. Scream for me some more, will you? It's such a wonderful lullaby. Naruto couldn't believe his luck. He was gonna be a father. Him. The knucklehead explosion murder boy. A dad. Next to him, Jiraiya was laughing and had slung an arm over his shoulder, while on his other side Sasuke and Kakashi both enjoyed a quiet drink in the shade. Between Kakashi and Jiraiya, a quiet Shikamaru laid out and watched the sky overhead with a calm smile on his face. Their shade was provided by Gamabunta, as they all sat in a clearing well away from the city and farms. Jiraiya couldn't help but be happy at the moment. You've done good, my boy. So. Who do you think will be next, huh? I'm sure you've been putting in the work. The fruits of that work were already sprouting after all. 2 at once was a surprise. Sasuke just shook his head. I just hope Sakura doesn't start getting any ideas from all of this. Naruto pointed at him as a flush worked on his face. Maybe she should. How are you supposed to rebuild your clan anyway? You better catch up. Mismatched eyes and a finger stabbed at Kakashi as well. You too. Knock up Shizune so we can all go through this together. Kakashi chuckled and shook his head. I don't think it works like that. Sasuke nodded. I'm really sure it doesn't. Spoil sports. It'll be fun. Naruto started laughing as Jiraiya egged him on to let loose, while Sasuke turned to his sensei. I'm not worried, I know Sakura wants to wait a little bit. Kakashi wanted to nod and say Shizune would wait as well, but he had to pause. Shizune had been rather forward after the swimwear fiasco. Well, Kakashi never had understood the power of power panties before. But a power bikini? Yeah, he got that. He understood that one completely and to the core. That black number she purchased was less a bikini and more a collection of enticing string. But Kami did it do its job. Naruto locked onto his hesitation. I'll send a clone to give Shizune the good news, maybe it'll egg her on. Clone made and sent before Kakashi could stop him. The older man did tackle him and ruffle his hair. It's for your own good, Kakashi-sensei. Leave my love life alone, damn it. You're too slow. I need a dad buddy. Anyone but me, you little shit. Who you calling a little shit, you Cyclops? Don't complain. I'll complain all I want, you explosion nutcase. You wanna go? I'll toss you around again. Try it. I will. Leaves left behind by two Shunshin techniques, explosions began to rock the area. Sasuke turned to the cackling Jiraiya. Shouldn't we, I don't know, stop them? Jiraiya could only offer a shrug. If Tsunade was here maybe, but she's with the rest of the girls back at the tower. Shikamaru turned his gaze to the older sage. Aren't you strong enough to do something? You're assuming I'm motivated to do something. Fair enough. The lazy Chunin returned to his sky gazing. Jiraiya shook his head, just like his father. He'll be fine. Laughing even harder while above them, Bunta chuckled as well. Sasuke could only watch as Kakashi was sent flying while a very drunk Naruto swayed on his feet while thrusting his fists into the air. I'm gonna be the best fucking dad in the world. Believe it.